Hello guys. So the book that I'm reading now is Indian Constitution Made Easy for a Common Man, and I happened to browse Twitter, and luckily I found recommendations, a book which is, I think, easy to read. It's about the Constitution of India for the common people. So, and the book was very short, simple language, and I said, why not, right? Instead of just scrolling or reading the Twitter, I thought like, why not just read this book? So I'm gonna read this book, and the name of the book is Indian Constitution Made Easy for a Common Man. Understand and own it in just 3 hours. So, and it was written by Sri Krishna Salim. So I'll start reading. Constitution of India for a common man. Learn, understand, and master basics in 3 hours. I think it's very important for every citizens of a country to know its own constitutions. For example, if you're living in India, then it's important to have a basic understanding of what are the constitution rights and what are the constitution fundamental rights that any person, every any citizens of a country has, and what are the things that they have to be careful with respect to not go against the constitutions of Constitution of India. Similarly, any persons living in any other country, they have their own constitutions. And yeah, so I'll give you a brief discussions about this, that the constitution was written by uh, a committee, and which was head by the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who I've read the books about him, and I know how difficulty it was for him to write the entire thing. I think it took close to 2 years to write the entire draft, the entire Constitution of India, and Indian Constitution is considered the longest constitution in the world. So yeah, Constitution for of India for a common man. Learn, understand, and master basics in 3 hours. All the money this book makes will be used to give free access to justice. All the money this book makes will, okay. So I don't know, but I got it for free. It's in Kindle, free, Kindle editions. I got it for free. So Sri Krishna Salim. So what are the contents? Contents goes to title page. Why should every Indian know their constitutions? Chapter number 1: Birth of a Nation's Souls. Fundamental rights made simple. Fundamental duties: what India expects from you. Chapter number 4: Direct principles: India's vision for justice and equality. Chapter number 5: The Parliament and the lawmaking simplified. Chapter number 6: The executive and the judiciary explained. Chapter number 7: Understanding the state and the center's relations. Chapter number 8: Constitutional amendments and how and why India laws changes. Chapter number 9: Emergency provisions and their implications. Chapter number 10: Elections, how your words shapes the constitutions. Yes. So now this book was shaped and strengthened by Professor Garima Garg, advocate Sudiksha Patel, and advocate Bhavya Nigamst. I wrote the words, but they carried the responsibility ensuring clarity and accuracy and fidelity to the constitutions. Okay, fidelity to the constitutions, and this works better because of them. My words: when I first read the Indian Constitution, I wasn't preparing for a law exam. I was looking for a hope. I was searching for answers, not in legal jargon, but in a plain truth. Why did justice feel delayed? Why did ordinary people feel powerless? Why was inequality still thriving in a nation founded on liberty and dignity? This book was born from that search. It's not a commentary, it's a conversation between the Constitution and the common man, between you and your rights, between what was promised and what must now be protected. So in simple language, through real stories, this book helps you understand the law and that governs your life, and gives you the tools to live with awareness, courage, and dignity. This book is for the teacher denied pay, the farmer evicted unjustly, the girls fighting for her educations, and the voters standing in line with nothing but hope. I wrote this for you because if you know your constitution, no one can steal your freedom. Sri Krishna Salim again. Silam, okay, I'm sorry. The Constitution is not a book of laws. It is a mirror. If you dare to look into it, you will see that the power you were told you never had. How to use this book? This is not a textbook. This is not a textbook. You don't need to memorize anything. Read it like a story. Each chapter opens up with the real events, a person who lived, fought, suffered, or won because of the Constitution. And they'll, okay. Same law in life because to by the end you won't just know the constitution, you know how to build it. Time needed equals to, it'll take 3 hours, okay, and chapter equals to 10. Lives it could change equals to starting with yours. So the first is, why should every Indian man know Indian know their constitution? He didn't know the constitution, so they took his life. Okay. So that the interesting is that they have given a true anecdotes of the real stories of as an example. Okay, He didn't know the constitution, so they took his life. Kamapuram, Kudalur, District, Tamil Nadu, March 1993. Raja Kanu was his name. Nobody remembered until he died. He was not a criminal, not a protester, not even a drunk. He was a barefoot farmer from the irregular tribe, a scheduled tribe known more to forest records than to justice system. He lived in a thatched hut in the ST scheduled tribe and scheduled caste. Okay. He lived in a thatched hut in the Vilupuram region, who worked on other people's fields and earned barely 30 rupees a day, breaking his back under the sun. He didn't know the constitution. He didn't know what Article 21 was. He didn't know that being poor, tribal, and illiterate didn't mean he had fewer rights, and that ignorance cost him his life. In March 1993, a local landlord house was robbed in the area. Raja Kanu and his wife Parvati Amal had worked on that very field just a day earlier. That was enough. The police, needing someone to blame, arrived at his home without a warrant. They arrested him on a suspicion, without proof, without charges, without reasons. What followed was the story too many poor Indians know intimately. He was tortured at the Karampuram police station. He was beaten. He cried for mercy. And when his wife came with the food on the third day, they told her, "Your husband escaped. He ran away." But Raja Kanu never escaped. He was dead. His body was later discovered dumped on a railway track miles away. Bones broken and dignity erased. They didn't just kill a man, they killed the constitution for someone who didn't even know it existed. What changed everything? An advocate who knew the constitutions and believed in it. His wife, Parvati, unlike many in her village, fought back. She had no legal education, no political power, and no money, but she had grief and she had the truth. Through activist network and the Madras High Court legal service committees, her cry reached K. Chandru, an advocate at the Madras High Courts, who would later become become Justice Chandru, known for his fierce, independent, and deep belief in constitutional values. Advocate Chandru took up her habeas corpus petitions. He demanded a judicial inquiry. What he found was chilling. Raja Kanu had died in a police custody. His injuries were consistent with a brutal torture. The post-mortem had been manipulated. The truth had been deeper buried in the body, but not this time. Advocate Chandru invoked Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, right to life and personal liberty. Even I don't know. There are some articles, right? Okay, so Article 21 of Indian Constitution talks about the right to life and personal liberty. He cited Article 14, right to equality. Okay, so I think I have to memorize this with the basics, right? Article 14 talks about the right to equality. Article 14 talks about the right to equality. Article 21 talks about the right to freedom and personal liberty. Okay, right to freedom, no, right to life. Okay, Article 14 talks about the right to equality. Article 21 talks about the right to life and personal liberty, right to life and personal liberty. He cited Article 14, right to equality. He successfully argued that the case, leading to High Court ordering compensation for the family and initiating a legal action against officers. And most importantly, he resorted dignities not just to Raja Kanu, but to every tribal, every laborer, every powerless Indian who thought the constitution was unjust. This case that shook India was made into a blockbuster movie, J. Beam, in 2021, starring actor Surya as an advocate Chandru. Why you must know the constitution? Okay, Raja Kumar didn't know the constitution, so they could arrest him without reasons. So they could torture him without consequence, and they could kill him and tell his wife that he had simply run away. But Parvati found someone who did know the constitutions, and that changed everything. This book is not a tribute to a lawyer or judges. It is a survival manual for every citizen who has ever felt powerless. It teaches you how to defend yourself, not with anger, but with awareness, not with violence, but with the knowledge of law. Because the next time someone tells you this is just the way things work, you can look them in the eye and say, yeah, this is a very common, saying in India, is that chalta hai. This is, it happens, right? Chalta hi hai. This happens, and this is just the way things. Aisa to aisa hi hota hai. This is just the way things will work, and you can look at them and say, no, this is not how the constitution works. Unlike Raja Kanu, millions of even educated citizens across India are unaware of their fundamental rights and duties laid down clearly in our constitutions. This book is for every citizen who has felt powerless, confused, or helpless. Within the next 3 hours, you will clearly understand and master the basic of Indian constitutions through simple explanation and real life stories and easy examples. You will discover your rights, responsibilities, and the power you hold as an informed Indian citizens. Welcome to your constitution, your most potent shield and strongest ally. Chapter number 1 talks about the birth of a nation's soil, not soil, it's soul. Birth of a nation's souls. A nation on the brink, December 1946, the room that changed 400 million lives, 9th December 1946, Central Hall. Okay, so that time India has a population of 400. New Delhi, In that room sat a man who wasn't allowed to drink water from the village well as a child, a woman who joined the freedom struggle at the age 12, a Muslim leader who would lose his homeland to partitions, as Dalit scholar with a degree from Columbia and London School of Economics. They had nothing in common except that this the weight of a nation's futures on their shoulder. For the next 1,000 days, they would argue, fight, and compromise and dream. They would draft 395 articles, debates 2,500 amendments, write in three languages, and create the longest constitutions any democracy had ever seen. This is not just a history, this is the story of how your rights were born. Okay, so in Indian constitution, there could be 395 articles. Okay, so article 395 and the debate equals to 350 equals to. Just wait, okay, there are sections and articles, okay, what is the difference, okay, and so second is 395. The man behind the constitution of, constitution is to B.R. Ambedkar. Bhim Rao Ambedkar. Dr. B.M. Rao Ambedkar was 9 years old when his teachers made him sit outside the classroom on a granny sack because his shadow might pollute the upper caste students. At 10, he was denied water. He watched his father beg the station master not for food but for water and be refused. At 15, when he topped his class, upper caste parents demanded the school refuse his scholarship. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was India, and this man denied water education dignity would go on to write the documents that guarantees water education dignity to 1.4 billion Indians. This is not irony. This is just delayed. This is justice delayed but not delivered. There's a quote which says that justice delayed is justice denied. And Ambedkar knew intimately the cost of injustice. As chairman of the Constitution Drafting Committee, his experiences deeply informed his resolve to ensure that the Constitution would guarantee justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity for every Indian citizens, regardless of their birth. Why was Constitution needed? At this pivotal point, India was more a collection of diverse identities than a unified nation. Hundreds of language, rows of caste, millions of dreams coexisted uneasily. The British had left, deep behind a deep division, social, religious, and economic. India urgently needed a binding force, a constitution that could unite these disparate identities under shared visions and a common practice, common promise. How the constitution was drafted. For 2 years, 11th month and 18 grueling days. For 2 years, 11th month. Okay, so close to 3 years. From December 9, 1946 to December 26, November 1949, the Constitution in a Constituent Assembly meticulously debated every single aspect of the new constitutions. More than 7,600 amendments were proposed. Nearly 2,500 were discussed at length. The debates were fierce, intensive, and deeply emotional, stand reflecting India's diversity. The voice of the Durga Bai Deshmukh. In these heated debates, emerged a less known fact, profoundly impactful figure like the Durga Bai Deshmukh, born in Rajamundry, Andhra Pradesh. Durga Bai was barely 12 years old when she actively participated in the non-cooperation movements against British in the 1921. By the time she entered the Constituent Assembly, she was fierce advocate for women's rights. On July 22, 1947, addressing the Constituent Assembly, she stood firm and voiced passionately for gender equality and education for women, shaping critical provisions in the Constitution. Her argument laid the foundation for a constitution right that guaranteed equality and dignity for women, which we benefit from today. The great debate on fundamental rights. Among the most challenging tasks was defining the fundamental rights, the heart of the Constitution. Ambedkar and his committee carefully examined constitutions from across the world, drawing inspiration from the American Bill of Rights, the French Declaration of Rights, and many more. They aim to guarantee essential freedoms and protections, allowing every Indian to lead a life of dignity. Signing the constitutions. Finally, on November 26, 1949, after extensive debate and painstaking revisions, the Constitution of India was formally adopted. The constitutions at work, the Kesavananda Bharati case, 1973. Decade later, in 1973, the strength of Ambedkar's vision was tested profoundly. Kesavananda Bharati, Kerala religious leaders, challenged the government's power to amend the constitution in a way that threatened citizens' fundamental right. The Supreme Court, in a historic judgment, yeah, so it could happen that right now we do have a freedom of speech. So later, if a party comes to power, where they have a majority for more than 75% in this one. Let's say they have a majority of 80%, so they can actually amend the right to freedom, right to equality, and all those things, right? If they have a power, so that's a big drawback. But let's see. So it says that Kerala is challenging the government's power to amend the constitution in a way that threatens, citizens' fundamental rights. The Supreme Court, in a historic judgment, upheld the basic structure of a principle that stops any changes in the fundamental principle. That means you cannot change the fundamental principles. I want to know what are the fundamental principles. It declared clearly that while Parliament could amend parts of the constitution, it could never alter its basic characteristics: justice, liberty, justice. liberty, equality, fraternity, secularism, and democracy. This landmark, case reaffirmed Ambedkar's belief the Constitution's core, soul was eternal, inviolable, and beyond political manipulations. What does this mean for you? The Constitution is not merely a document, it's a living commitment to you, your children, and your generations to come. Every right you exercise today, your freedom of speech, religion, your right to equality, dignity is safeguarded by these remarkable documents, painstakingly drafted by the visionary men and women like Ambedkar and Durga Bhai Deshmukh. Understanding the Constitution empowers you to protect your rights, to fulfill your duties, and contribute meaningfully to India's growth. It helps you and realize that the Constitution isn't a distant legal paper, but a powerful tool in your hands to ensure justice, equality, and dignity for yourself and those around you. The preamble, where people became the power. The preamble, where the people became the power. The preamble, the 85 words that define India. We, the people of India. Okay. This was actually, I'll tell you a story, right? The preamble, the first page of the Constitution, I've screenshotted the picture and I've kept it as a wallpaper, strangely, but I've changed it later. Okay, I want to know what is the differences between the Constitution and the preamble. Is it not the same? Preamble, an introduction or a preface, for example, to a book, written document, speech, or that explained its purpose. Okay, preamble. Is preamble okay? So preamble meaning. The preamble highlights the salient features of the Constitution of India. Okay, an introduction or a preface, for example, to a book. Okay, so is preamble a preface? Just wait. Okay, a preface. A preamble is an introductory statement, often described as a preface, that outlines the purpose, guiding principles, and philosophy of a document as a constitution. Okay, so understood. So the preamble, it says that the 85 words that define India, and this is very careful, this is very important. We, the people of India, stop, read that again. Not we, the parliament, or we, the British crown, or we, the kings, but it's written, we, the people. For the first time in 5,000 years of civilization, power didn't come from God or a sword or a bloodline. It came from us. Here's what the 85 words promise you. Justice, social, economic, political, meaning fair courts, fair wages, fair votes. Social, economic, and political justice. Liberty of thoughts, expression. Liberty of thoughts, expression, belief, faith, worship, meaning you can think what you want, say what you believe, pray how you choose. Equality, so we the people, we have justice, liberty, and equality. Equality means as of status, opportunity, meaning your caste, religion, gender don't determine your worth. Fraternity, we're showing dignity of the individual, meaning we rise together, not at all others are in decorative words, they are your constitutional inheritance. But I want to know this one, okay? Let me do a perplexity. Yes. Perplexity guide. And I want to know, during during latent, show controversy with respect to Samai, Raina and Ranveer. Statement. They made a statement. Jokes, right? Okay, there was a jokes. Chief Minister, and other people have filed an FIR, right? Filed an FIR in police station, considering the Constitution of India. Please explain, can police arrest them and jail them? Because I don't think, because if you're saying a freedom of speech, then obviously this is the clear examples of, because the Chief Minister of Assam, not exactly this one. Okay, so the basic idea in India, even if FIRs are filed and politicians are angry, the police cannot just randomly jail someone for a joke. Whether they can arrest and whether the arrest will survive in a court depends on which section of law on the FIR. Indian Penal Code, Stan IT, the Act, etc. Whether the speech really crosses the line drawn by the Constitution, Article 19(1)(a) and 19(2). What the higher courts have already said in similar cases. In India, in the India's over late in Samay Rana Ranveer controversies, multiple FIR have been, in fact, filed in different states for obscenities and related offence, and police have summoned them for questioning. The Supreme Court has already intervened once to protect Ranveer from arrest and some of the FIRs, though it strongly criticized the joke and restricted him from doing shows for sometimes. Let's break into these questions. Can a police arrest? Can they actually be jailed for trial? Can a police arrest them now? In such FIR, complainants usually invoke sections like IPC 293, this one's obscenity in public, obscene contents, maybe 295, 5, etc. They claim hurting sentiments. IT provides provision for publishing, transmitting obscene, material online. So many of those are cognizable offense, which means police legally can register a FIR and start investigations. And in principle, they can also have the power to arrest without warrant in serious cases, but there are limits. Supreme Court protections. Ranveer Alabhadia has already got interim protection from arrest from the Supreme Court in multiple FIR cases. So the court has said no new FIRs on the same allegation and has told him to cooperate with this and not leave India with permissions. Once a court grants such a protections, anticipatory bail, interim protection, police cannot arrest him in those FIRs unless the court changes its order. Reasonable ground requirements. Even when law allow arrest, police are supposed to record reasons showing arrest is necessary. For example, to prevent further offense, to stop tampering of evidence. Thailand in various cases like the Arnish Kumar case, summons for question first. In the controversy, police have issued someone to Samir Rana Ranveer to record statements rather than immediately jailing them. This shows the usual patterns. FIR goes to summon for questioning collective evidence, then decides whether arrest is needed or not. So are police allowed to arrest? In theory, yes, if the FRI sections are cognizable and no court protection is in place. In this specific case, Ranveer at least is under Supreme Court protection from the arrest in this one, so the police cannot just pick him up and jail him. For some and others, it depends on whether they obtain similar protection from the High Court or Supreme Court or get anticipatory bail. Can they be jailed, convicted, and sent to prison? This is a different harder question. For someone to be jailed, prosecution must prove in the court that the content legally counts as obscene under this one, or it clearly fits some other specific offense. Constitution protections gives everyone the right to free speech, allows reasonable restriction for things like decency, morality. Public courts usually try to balance this. They may criticize content morally, but they protect. Oh yeah, so that's the thing, right? Morally, it might be wrong, so you can criticize, but practically speaking, balances. This may be criticized the content morally, but still protect it legally unless it clearly crosses the threshold. In every case, the Supreme Court called the joke dirty and perverted, but still gave him a legal protection from arrest, not immediate. So yeah, this is fine, I think, right? Where the Constitution fits in. Now the problem is that where do you draw the line? Even that is a big problem. Conclusions. A promise to keep. As you close this chapter, remember Ambedkar's powerful caution. The Constitution's effectiveness lies in your hands. Your knowledge, action, and commitments. Breathe life into each day. From now on, you are not merely a passive citizen, but an active guardian of India's democratic soul. The Constitution in numbers. Days taken to draft 1,000. Assembly members 299. Women members 15. Total amendment proposed equals to 7,600. Amendments debated equals to 2,500. Article in final draft 395. Languages originally written in English, Hindi, and Sanskrit. Pages in original handwritten calligraphy 251. Weight of original Constitution 3.75 kg. Cost is equals to 6.3 lakh. 1949 value. What's next? You know why the Constitution was created and who created it. But here's the real questions: what does it actually give? What can you demand? What can you fight for? What rights do you hold that no government, no police officer, no employment can take away? Chapter number 2, Fundamental Rights Made Simple. What are the fundamental rights? Freedom at the cost of change. The story of Iqbal, Masih, and India's silent children. Murid Ke, Punjab, Pakistan, 1950. Okay, Murid Ke is equals to, is it in Punjab or? Murid Ke, Punjab, Pakistan, 1995. It wasn't until his death that Iqbal Masih was widely known. He was just 4 years old when his family borrowed money, roughly 6,000 Pakistani rupees. They couldn't repay it, so Iqbal was sold to a carpet manufacturer to work off the debt. For 6 years, he worked 14 hours a day, weaving intricate rugs in a dim lit factory, often chained to the looms. He wasn't allowed to step outside. He was beaten if slowed down. He never saw a school, never saw the sky, never played with friends. By age 10, Iqbal weighed just 20 kilograms. His growth surely severely stunned by years of abuse and starvations. But then something extraordinary happened. Iqbal escaped, found activists from the bonded labor liberation fronts, BLLF, and began speaking up. His powerful voice thundered across borders, exposing the carpet mafia and the reality of a bonded labor, child labor. He traveled internationally, receiving the prestigious Reebok Human Rights Award in 1994. He was later shot dead on April 16, 1995, at age 12 in his home village, silenced for daring to challenge this very system that had enslaved him. What does this have to do with the Indian constitutions? Everything. Because what happened to Iqbal happens to thousands of children in India every day. In brick cling farms, dabas, and homes, children are trafficked, bonded, abused, silenced, and most of us never look closely until we know Article 23 of our constitution. So, till now, I know Article 21 that talks about the right to life and personal liberty. And Article, was it 14? 14, right to equality. I think it was 12, right? Article 12. Okay, Article 14. So Article 21, I know the right to equality. 21 equals to right to personal. Okay, right to life and personal liberty. And Article 14 equals to right to equality. So 21 and 14. And now one more. Where is it? So 21 and 14 and one more article. Where was I? Okay, so where was I? Okay, yeah. So now is equals to 21, 14. Now Article 23. Until we know Article 23 of the Constitution, traffic in human beings and forced labor is prohibited and punishable. But here is the truth. Most parents don't know this right exists. Most children never know they have been wronged, and most of us don't have the Constitution gives you the power to intervene. The rescue of 12-year-old Meera from Bihar 2017 is very recent, man. It's 9 years back, but still it's recent. In Gaya, Bihar in 2017. I've been to this place, Budh Gaya. A 12-year-old girl named Meera was rescued from a bangle making factory after a local teacher noticed she stopped coming to the school. She had been trafficked from her village and was working 16 hours a day under hazardous conditions. When their teacher reported it to the District Legal Service Authority, citing Article 23 and the Child Labor Prohibition Act. So Article 23 talks about the traffic in human beings. Traffic in human beings and forced labor is prohibited. A raid was conducted, Meera was freed, the owner was arrested, and Meera was enrolled back in school with support from government funds designed to rehabilitate rescued children. What saved her? Not just compassion, constitutional awareness. Why you must know your fundamental rights. Iqbal never knew his rights. Meera almost didn't, but someone around her did, and that changed her life. Your fundamental rights, enshrined in Article 12 to 35, are not legal formalities. They are your shield, your voice, your freedom, but right only works when you know them and when you use them, not just for yourself, but for others who can't. So this chapter will show you the simplest possible way what your rights are and how to wield them with confidence, clarity, and courage. Because the next time someone is abused, exploited, or silenced, you shouldn't ask who will help. You should say, I know the constitutions and I will. What are the fundamental rights? Fundamental rights are the heart of India's constitutions. They ensure essential freedoms, protections, and dignity for every citizen, clearly outlined in Article 12 to 35 of the Constitution. Okay, so as mentioned, the Indian Constitution have more than 335 something articles, and in that article number 12 to 35, it talks about the basic, the free, fundamental rights. Fundamental rights goes to outline in Article 12 to 35. So 12 talks about the personal, equalities, and 21 talks about the right to life and personal liberty. These rights protect you from abuse of powers, ensure fairness and equality for everyone, irrespective of the background. Here's a simple breakdown of these rights. Right to equality, Article 14 to 18. Right to equality, Article 14 to 18. The Mandal Commissions and Indra Swane 1992. In 1990s, India erupted into fierce debate over reservation and government jobs as a young woman named Indra Swane challenged reservations, arguing they violated her right to equality. Yeah, if you see from that point of view, if there's a reservation, then there's no equality as such for the common people, right? So you could argue that also, but a young woman named Indra Swane challenged reservation, arguing they violated her right to equality. The Supreme Court, however, upheld the reservations, explaining equality isn't just treating everyone identical, but recognizing historical injustices and ensuring fair opportunities for marginalized group. So then I think it talks about the equity, not equality. Equity means giving everyone, depending upon this, where equality means giving everyone the same. This landmark judgment illustrates a profound constitutional truth. Equality isn't uniformity, it's fairness. So yeah, you have to understand what is the exact definition of an equality. Equality doesn't mean everyone equal. Equality means also includes a fairness. isn't uniformity, it's a fairness. And second, right to freedom. Right to freedom talks about the Article 19 to 22. Binayak Sen, so Dr. Binayak Sen, pediatrician, that means a child doctor, pediatricians. Okay, I want to see the pronunciations. Pediatric, CIN goes to pronunciation, pediatricians, pediatric, pediatricians, okay, pediatricians, okay, pediatricians, pediatricians, okay, pediatricians, okay, pediatric, okay, pediatricians, okay, pediatricians, pediatricians, okay. Dr. Binayak Sen, pediatricians, dedicated his life to treating the poorest liberal communities in Chhattisgarh. But in 2007, he was shockingly arrested under draconian laws for alleged seditions simply because he spoke openly against state violence. Nationwide protest he erupted, invoking Article 19, with freedom of speech and expression. After prolonged struggle, Sen was finally released. Binayak Sen's case underscored the necessity of the safeguarding individual liberty, highlighting the delicate balance between national security and personal freedom. Rights to right against exploitation, Article 23 to 24, right against exploitations. Bachpan Bachao Andolan, 1980s present industry. In the 1980s, activist Kailash Satyagrahi witnessed small children working under deplorable conditions in a carpet factory, driven by the compassions and armed with Article 23 and 24, prohibiting child labor and forced labor. He relentlessly fought rescuing over 80,000 children from exploitations, ultimately winning the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014. His work vividly demonstrates how constitutional rights could transform lives and end human suffering. Right to freedom of religions, Article 25 to 28. Right to freedom of religions. Right. So this article talks about in Article 25. Right to freedom of religions. S.R. Bommai versus Union of India. In the early 1990s, communal tensions sparked violent riots. The central government dismissed several states' governments, including Karnataka's, led by the Chief Minister S.R. Bommai, alleging religious biases. Bommai challenged this muscle, arguing it violated the religious freedoms and federal principles. In a landmark verdict, the Supreme Court sided with Bommai, firmly safeguarding secularism as a fundamental constitutional value. This judgment reinforced India's secular fabric, ensuring religious freedoms remain unbreachable. And now is goes to cultural and educational rights, Article 29 to 30. St. Stephen's College case goes to St. Stephen's College in Delhi faced a lawsuit over its minority reservation policy, cultural education. So you have a culture, you have an education right, cultural education right goes to St. Stephen's College in Delhi faced a lawsuit over its minority reservation policy. Critics claim it violated the principle of equality, but the Supreme Court upheld the Article 30, stating minorities have the right to preserve their distinct culture and education, provided fairness isn't compromised. This case confirmed that cultural diversities and educational autonomy are integral to India's democratic spirit. Right to constitutional remedies, Article 32. The most powerful weapon you own, Dr. Ambedkar. The most powerful weapon you own, Dr. Ambedkar called this the heart and the soul of the constitutions. What is it? It talks about the right to constitutional remedies. Right to constitutional remedies, okay? Why? Because every other religion is, every other right is useless if you can't enforce it. Okay, so yeah, so this one, right to constitutional remedies. That means you have a right to get a constitutional, this one's help, right? Okay, I think Article 32 talks about the right to constitutional remedy. Okay, Article 32. So 14, 21, okay, 32, 24, 32, right? Okay, right to constitutional remedies. Right to constitutional remedy, the most powerful weapon you own. Dr. Ambedkar called this the heart and the soul of constitution. Why? Because every other right is useless if you can't enforce it. Think of it this way. Article 14 to 30, your rights. Article 32 is to your right to fight for your rights, how it works. So Article 32 talks about your right to fight for your right. Your right to fight for your right. Your right to fight for your rights. How it works. If anyone, okay, so this is called right for constitutional remedies. Okay, right equals to. So it works. If any government, police, employer, landlord violates your fundamental rights, you can directly approach the Supreme Court. No lawyer needed. Through though recommended. Okay, recommended. No local court first. No permission required. This is called a writ petitions to real power. In 1985, journalist Olga Teles used Article 32 to fight for a pavement dweller facing forced eviction in Mumbai. The Supreme Court ruled right to shelter is a part of right to life. Article 21. right to life and personal property. One woman, one petition, thousands of lives saved. That Article 32 is to know this. You can file a writ petitions by email post. The Supreme Court must hear it. Even if you're a poor, even if you're illiterate, even if you're in jail, this is your nuclear options, and it's always loaded. It's your nuclear options, okay? Understanding the importance of fundamental rights. These gripping stories and landmark cases demonstrate vividly how fundamental rights are an abstract concept. They deeply impact real people's lives, their dignity, and their freedoms. Fundamental rights protects you from arbitrary authority, ensures your voice is heard, and guarantee your dignity. Knowing these rights empowers you to live fearlessly, fight injustice, and shape India's democratic futures. Reasonable restriction, freedoms, gentle boundaries equals to. Okay, so yeah, so you have all the rights, but this is freedom of speech and all basic rights, fundamental rights, but there are but with a reasonable restriction. For example, you have a right to freedom of speech, but there are some conditions. Reasonable, like there are reasonable restrictions, freedoms, gentle boundaries. Why your freedom has why your freedom has guardian. Imagine you have freedom of speech, Article 19. So freedom of speech talks about Article 19. So Article 2 in Article 14, 19 equals to freedom of speech. Okay, constitutional remedy equals to 32. Can you criticize the government? So why your freedom as guardian? Imagine you have freedom of speech, Article 19. So can you criticize the government? Yeah, absolutely yes. Can you question a court judgment? Yes. Write satire about a politicians? Yes. Shout fire in a crowd, take theaters when there is no fire. So there are some exceptions. First equals to, can you shout fire when there's no fire in a crowd? No, you cannot. Give a speech that incites people to murder minorities. You cannot, have a freedom of speech with the conditions that you cannot give a speech which, incites violence. That incites people to murder minorities. No, to publish someone's private photos without consent. No, why not? Because your freedom cannot destroy someone else's safety, dignity, or restrictions. So that is the main thing, right? You cannot post or picture anyone's, because your rights, you have every right, but your rights ends when it starts disturbing or starts infringing the rights of the other people. Publish someone's private photos without consent. No, why? Because your freedom cannot destroy someone else's safety, dignity, rights. That's what reasonable restriction means. It's not about controlling you, it's about protecting everyone. Example, in 2012, 2 girls in Mumbai were arrested for a Facebook post criticizing the shutdown during the Bal Thackeray funeral. Was this a reasonable restriction? No, the Supreme Court later clarified criticism is not sedition. The arrests were unconditional. The police officers were punished. This is why you must know where restrictions are reasonable and why they are tyranny. In short, these restrictions remind us that the true freedom comes with responsibilities and that everyone's right must be protected equally. Your constitutions, your power. Just imagine if Arun Shori, Binayak Sen, Kailash Satyarthi, or Indra Swani hadn't known or fought for these fundamental rights. Each story could have ended tragically different. The Constitution provided the strength, protections, and legitimacy they needed. Every citizen, including you, hold the same powerful shield, your fundamental rights. Your rights were violated. Now what? Step 1. Okay, so now this is the step-by process. Okay, so when your rights are denied or violated, then what do you have to do? Now what? First, step 1, document everything: photo, video, witness, medical reports, written complaints. So I think this right now, this is very important, right? Whatever is happening, if possible, if you think that this entire situation could turn into a different version or might lead to a problem, then the best thing is just take out your phone. Not necessarily you take the picture, video, and it's not necessarily you to show this video. Yeah, once you just show his video and then just take it off from and then record it, what is happening, right? Yes, document everything: photos, videos, witnesses, medical reports, written complaints. Step 2 is to file complaint with appropriate authority: police for crimes, human rights commissions for violations by states, labor commissioner equals to for workplace issues. I didn't know that you have to define this, right? So if there's any crime or something like that, then you go to the police, and if it's related to the state, if the government is violating any of rights, then you have to go to the human rights commission, and if it's related to workplace, then labor commissioners. Step 3 is if no action escalates, file RTI, right to information, asking for status. Yeah, you have a right to information. Yeah. If no action escalates, file right to information asking for status. Approach district legal service authority, free legal aid. Contact media, NGO. Step 4 is legal remedies. Writ petitions under the Article 32 Supreme Court.
That means right to judicial remedies. And writ petition under Article 2226 High Court faster closure equals to criminal civil case through regular courts. Step by public interest litigations. Yeah, PIL. This is quite common, right? So PIL equals to public interest litigations. Public interest litigations. If the violations affect many people, anyone can file on their behalf. Yeah, public interest litigations. Resource National Human Rights Commissions. Okay, numbers given. Supreme Court filing is to SCI dot government.in free legal services aid equals to you don't need to be a lawyer to defend your rights, you just need to know they exist. Conclusion: protecting your constitutional skills. Remember, these rights are only powerful if you know, understand, and defend them. They protect you, your loved ones, and every fellow citizens around you. By mastering those rights, you become a vigilant protector of India's democracy, awareness, and empowered and ready to uphold justice whenever it is required.
Chapter number 3, Fundamental Duties, What India Expects from You. One Man, One Forest, The Real Life Duty of Jadav Payeng. Majuli, Assam, 1979. It was a scorching April afternoons. The Brahmaputra River, swollen by spring flood, has eroded yet another patch of lands. On the sandbar of Majuli Island, 16 years old, Jadav Molai Payeng stood stunned. He had just found dozens of dead snakes. They had been washed ashore and baked in the sun. There were no trees to shade them, no roots to hold the soil, no greenery, nothing but silence and death. That moment changed Jadav's life. He didn't protest, he didn't blame the government. He picked up a handful of bamboo samplings and began planting alone every single day. Fast forward to 2015, the forest of Molai, after 40 years, that lonely teenager act of duty had created 1360, uh, 1,360-acre forest, larger than New York's Central Park. It houses Bengal tigers, 100 elephants, rhinos, hundreds of bird species, and climate buffer zones for all of Assam's. This man, who never studied environmental science, fulfilled Article 51A, subsection G of the Indian Constitution. It shall be the duty of every citizen to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have a compassion for living creatures. Why this story must be told? When the Constitution lists fundamental duties, it doesn't ask you to join the army or enter parliament. It asks you, will you protect your land? Will you help your neighbor? Will you preserve heritage? Will you strive for excellence? Will you respect diversity and human dignity? Jadav Payeng was never told what Article 51A was, but he lived it. But better than most of us memorized it in a school. Other real life examples, of citizens fulfilling their duties. Why you should know these duties? You don't need a uniform to serve your country. You don't need to wait for orders. You need awareness, conscience, and courage. Knowing your rights gives you a power. Knowing your duties gives you purpose. So, okay, knowing your rights gives you power. Knowing your duties gives you purpose. This chapter won't guilt you, it will inspire you, because, like Jadav Payeng, the greatest defender of the constitutions are not in parliament. They're often barefoot, unnoticed, and quietly building a better nation. And unexpected lessons. The floods of Kerala 2018. It was a mid August 2018. Heavy monsoon rain battered the beautiful southern Indian state of Kerala relentlessly, causing a catastrophic floods. Millions lost their homes, families were displaced overnight, and the state's infrastructures crumbled under nature's fury. Amidst this chaos, an ordinary fisherman, Jaisal KP from Malappuram district, emerged as an extraordinary hero. On August 17, Jaisal heard frantic cries from villagers stranded in rising flood water. Without hesitation, he pushed his small fishing boat into the treacherous current, fully aware of the danger ahead. Navigating swirling waters filled with debris and hidden obstacles, he rescued more than 60 villagers over 3 exhausting days and nights, tirelessly ferrying them to safety. When asked later why he risked his life repeatedly, Jaiswal simply said, "It was my duty as an Indian, as a human, to protect and help others. If you don't, who will?" Jaiswal's word powerfully illustrates what the Constitution describes as a fundamental duties, a citizen's moral obligation towards the nations and the fellow citizens. Um, I hope it hasn't mentioned till now. I hope it will mention later also, that it is a fact that every citizens of this country have the fundamental rights and many more rights to each individuals, and with that right also comes some duties, right, of each and every individuals that they must do. For example, civic sense. Every person is personally liable to ensure that they are not making the society dirty, they're not affecting the cleanliness and the sanitations of the place of a country. What are the fundamental duties added to the constitutions by the 42nd Amendment Act in 1946? Article 51A outline certain duties every Indian citizen must uphold. Unlike fundamental rights, these duties aren't enforceable by okay, so these are not enforceable by law. Okay, these duties aren't enforceable by law, yet they are crucial. Okay, so even in the constitution, right, there is a, I think, say something that it must be, what is the okay, Companies Act, right? So what is the Companies Act means? It must be enforceable. What is the okay, what is a contract? A contract is a legal obligations between two people, which is enforceable, right? So which should be enforceable by both the party. Added to the constituencies, the first article, this one 51 outlines certain duties every 19 it must uphold. So unlike fundamental rights, these duties are enforceable by law, yet they are crucial in fostering a spirit of responsibility, patriotism, and community. Let's simplify these duties clearly and pair them with the inspiring real stories that embody this essence. Duty 1: respect national symbols and institutions. Okay, the tale of Major Sandeep Unique Christians, 2008. During the horrifying Mumbai terror attack of November 26/11, right, 2008, Major Sandeep Unichristans and NSG Commando bravely stormed the Taj Hotel to save innocents' life. Facing gunfire, he gave his life to protect others. Today, Major Unichristans symbolizes respect for the nations and its institutions, reminding us why honoring nation symbols like the flag and anthem matters deeply. Duty 2 is to cherish and follow ideals of freedom, struggle. The legacy of Bhagat Singh, 1931. Bhagat Singh, the revolutionary hero, sacrificed his life at just 23, fighting British oppressions. His bravery, idol of justice, freedom, and equality, continued to inspire millions. Embracing his value means fighting injustices, respecting diversity, and championing the right of the citizens. Duty 3 is to uphold sovereignty, unity, and integrity. Citizens united. It goes to Kargil, 1999. When Indian soldiers fought courageously in the icy peaks of Kargil, citizens across the nation unified fiercely behind them. Indians donated generously, rallied support, and showed powerful unity, demonstrating that national integrity and unity are not just duties but a source of collective strength. Duty 4 is to defend country and serve when required. Braveheart Neeraj Banot on September 5, 1986, when terrorists hijacked Pan Am in a flight 73 in Karachi, a young flight attendant Neerja Banut showed remarkable courage. She shielded passengers and bravely sacrificed herself while saving hundreds. Our act of bravery exemplified duty on beyond uniform, a duty to humanity itself. I think there's a movie also, right? Okay, duty number 5: promote harmony, brotherhoods, and equalities. Bayaji, Joshi interfaith efforts, 2002 present. After communal riots devastated Gujarat in 2002, Bayaji Joshi dedicated himself to rebuilding trust between Hindu and Muslim communities through dialogue, empathy, and compassion. He healed wounds, showing vividly how fostering harmony and brotherhood strengthen the nation's social fabric. Duty 6: preserve rich heritage of our culture. Dr. Ananda Shankar Jayant, a dancing beyond cancer, Bharatnatyam dancer Dr. Ananta Shankar Jayant was diagnosed with a cancer in 2008. Despite painful treatments, she passionately performed and taught dance, ensuring India's classical heritage thrived for in the next generation. A courage to preserve culture and adversity highlight the power of cultural duty. Duty number 7, protect natural environment and wildfire. Salu Marada Timaka, the mother of trees. Salu Madara Timaraka, an environmentalist from the Karnataka, epitomized in individual environmental duty. She and her husband tirelessly planted and nurtured 385 banyan trees along with the 4.5-kilometer stretch of highway, transforming the landscape, which involved carrying water over long distance, demonstrates how one person can fulfill the constitutional duty to protect the natural environment. She has been honored with the Padma Shri for her efforts. Duty number 6: develop a scientific temper and spirit of inquiry. ABG, Abdul Kalam's vision, 2002 to 2007. Former President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam tirelessly promoted scientific inquiry, innovations, and curiosity among Indian youths. He passionately encouraged millions of students, shaping India's scientific futures, teaching us that a scientific mindset leads the nation forward. Duty number 9 is to protect public property and reject violence. The Anti-Citizenship Act protest, 2019, when a widespread protest against the Citizenship Amendment Act erupted, groups of students and young citizens, made news by forming protective human chain and around public property, preventing vandalism. The peaceful protective stand emphasizes responsible citizenship and rejection of violence. Duty to 10 is to strive for excellence in all spheres. Hima Das, from rice field to gold medals. Hima Das, a farmer's daughter from Assam, overcame poverty and limited resources, pursuing excellence in athletics
2017, she became India's first athlete to win a gold medal at the World Junior Athletic Championship. Her story motivates every citizen to excel despite obstacle, embodying the duty to strive relentlessly. Why do fundamental duties matter? Fundamental duties teach us that rights alone aren't enough. Responsibility, empathy, and active participation are equally essential. A truly vibrant democracy thrives when citizens recognize duties alongside rights, creating a nation of responsible, aware, and compassionate individuals. I'm just one person's. What can I really do? Yeah, this is the problem with this is, I wouldn't say problem in India. I'm just talking about in general, right, around the world. Everyone thinks that I'm just a single person. What difference can I make? So if every single 1.4 billion, if every single one of the people think that I'm just a single person, what difference can I make? Then it makes a big difference, right? Let's be honest. You're reading this and thinking, Jadav Paying planted a forest. I can barely keep a cactus alive. Jaiswal rescued 60 people. I'm scared of swimming. These are extraordinary people. I'm ordinary. Good, because the Constitution's fundamental duties weren't written for heroes. They were written for you. Here's what ordinary looks like. Can't plant 1,360 acres, plant one tree. Teach one child not to litter. Can't rescue 60 people in the flood. Help one neighbor carry groceries. Donate 100 to relief funds. Can't preserve a heritage site. Don't carve your name on monuments. Report vandalism. Can't join the army. Stand up school national anthem. Teach your kids why it matters. Small acts compounds across 1.4 people in billion. Yeah, that's very true. That's small acts compounds across 1.4 billion people. Transformation. You don't need to be a Jade Paying. You need to be you, but aware and acting. Conclusion: duties as a way of life. Every powerful story shared, here from fisherman to the soldier's dancer to ordinary students reminds you that the greatness isn't exclusive to heroes. It represents within you, waiting to be awakened by simple acts of duties and responsibility. By living those fundamental duties, you became part of India's ongoing story, helping create a nation of compassion, integrity, and strength for the generations to, for yet unborn. Now comes chapter number 4. Directive Principles, India's vision for justice and equality. The hot meal that changed India, the British of the midday meal schemes. Kumbakonam, Tamil Nadu, June 2004. In the bustling temple town of Kumbakonam, 94 children between the age of 6 to 10 sat for lunch inside a private primary school. That time was 11:45 a.m. Just before the meal was served, a fire broke out in the school kitchen. I think it's in Tamil Nadu. Okay, within minutes, flame engulfed in the building. The children trapped in a narrow classroom with no fire exits had nowhere to go. 94 children died, most of them from burns, smoke, inhalations, or being trampled in panic. The nation was shocked, but Tamil Nadu responded not just with a grief but policy. The constitution linked directive principle in actions. After the tragedy, the Tamil Nadu government dramatically improved its midday meal schemes. Originally introduced in 1982 under the then Chief Minister M.G. Ramachandran (MGR). By 2005, Tamil Nadu had become the first Indian states to ensure hot, cooked, nutritious meal in all government schools under proper safety protocols. But the real turning point came when the Supreme Court of India, citing Article 47 of the Constitution's directive principles in nutrition and public health. Okay, even this is in Constitution. Directive principles on nutrition and public health ordered the government of India to make a India to make midday meal a legal obligation in all states. This wasn't just a policy move, this was a constitutional awakening. Article 47 of the Indian Constitution says, the state shall regard the raising of the level of nutrition and the standard of living of its people and the improvement of the public health as among its primary duties. The court reminded the government this is not charity, it's a constitutional duty. The impact: feeding the nations. After 2004 to 5 court orders, every Indian states began implementing the midday meal scheme. Today, over 115 million children in 1.2 million schools receive free meal every day. Source: Ministry of Education 2023. It led to a 30% increase in school attendance among girls and Dalit children. UNESCO. It created millions of jobs for a local woman as a cook and a helper. All of this happened not because of a demand from our voters, but because of the directive principles of a state policy, especially Article 39, Section E, 45 and 47. Why the story belongs in the Constitution. The directive principles are not enforceable in court, but they are enforceable in conscience and parliament and in public will. Okay. So that is the thing, right? That is the directive principles. Not enforceable in court. Okay, so these are not enforceable in the courts, but they are enforceable in conscience and parliaments and in public will. Every good thing you see in Indian governance, free education, food security, rural employment, has its root in this guiding principle. They tell the government, build for the weakest, govern with a compassion, erase inequality not with the speeches but with the scheme. In simple terms, directive principles are the government's report card, why they owe. Here's the truth: your fundamental rights, chapter number 2, are what government cannot take from you. Directive principles are what government must give you. They are not exactly rights you can sue over. Okay, so you cannot sue. They are not rights, they are not exactly rights you can sue over, but they are constitutional promises, goals that state must work towards. Think of this way: rights is equals to your shield, duties is equals to your responsibility, directive principle equals to government's to-do list, and when they don't deliver, you hold them accountable every single elections. Other example of a directive principles in action includes equals to right to education. Right to Education Act 9 2000, yeah, Right to Education 2009 equals to free, provides free and compulsory education for children between 6 to 14 years. Directory connected to Article 45 of the Constitution's National Food Security Act, a legal entitlement to subsidize food grains for 75% of the rural population, inspired with Article 47 on nutrition. Why you should know this? If you know your directive principle, you will demand better healthcare, education, and nutrition. Know what the state owes you, and not as a favor but as a duty. Understands how policy connects with the constitutional visions. Directive principles are not decoration; they are blueprints for justice. They are how the Constitution deems dreams loud. And once you know that, you will stop asking for help and start demanding indignity. From hunger to hope, the midday meal miracle 2001. It was a scorching afternoon in June 2001 in a small government primary school in Baran district, Rajasthan. A frail 7 years old named Buri Lal sat quietly in a corner, eyes downcast, too weak from hunger to even concentrate. Most days, Buri came to school with with an empty stomach. Her only meal, a piece of dry bread at night. Her teachers, Kanyasham, noticed this heartbreaking pattern not just in Buri but in dozens of other children. Hunger was stealing their childhoods and destroying their education. Determined, Kancham, privileged district official, invoking a forgotten constitutional promises, the direct principle that pledged nutrition and education for every child. His passionate advocacy ignited change. Within a week, Rajasthan adopted a midday meal scheme, providing nutrition free to its children. Soon, Buri and her friends, eagerly attending schools, now assured at least one healthy meal a day. Within months, attendance soared, learning improved, and a smile returns for what began as a one teacher determination soon transformed into a nationwide policy empowering millions of children through education and nourishment, and all inspired by the Constitution's directive principles. Uh, I think most of the Indian people, I would say most means more than 70-80 percentage of the common people, they are not aware of the nutrition value of a food. They are mostly malnourished. Even some of the well-to-do family, middle-class family also are malnourished because they don't have an idea of what kind of a food to eat. They mostly eat carbs, rice. South especially, they eat a lot of rice for morning, and it has a lot of carbs. So they have to balance it out. And obviously, the poor people, they can't even afford like a proper meal, right? So that's why you could see physically they're not very good. But I think I don't know, is it because of the genetics or not? Because if you see Africa, even Africa is a quite poor country. I think it's, if you compare it with India, it's still poorer than India, but still they have a good physique, even if they don't have a good nutrition, malnourished. So I think it has to do with the genetics also. Not exactly sure. Open to new views. Okay, India as a welfare state. Imagine two countries. Country A, a government's job, collect taxes, maintains army, stays out of people's life, healthcare, buy it yourself or die, education, private schools, illiteracy is poverty, your problem. Country B, government's job is supposed to ensure every citizen has basic dignity, healthcare, government hospitals, plus insurance schemes, educations, free schools, midday meals, scholarship. Poverty, government creates safety nets, Manrega, food security, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural, this one rural something guarantee act. Okay, yeah, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, food security. India chooses to be a country B. That's what welfare state means. It does not mean the government does everything. It means the government ensures everyone has a chance. The constitutional basis, Article 3851, directive principles, government's welfare responsibilities. What do you see in a welfare states country? Free government hospitals, ration cards, public holiday, employment guarantee schemes. That's not charity. That's a constitutional duty. The idea of a welfare state is the heart of the Indian constitutions. Why? What are directive principles? Directive principles of a state policy outlined in Article 36 to 51 of the Constitution represents India's guiding vision for social justice, economic equality, and a compassionate society. While these principles are unenforceable in court, they strongly influence policy making and shape India's governance, urging government to build a just and a fair and inclusive society. Let's simplify key directive principles through powerful real life stories to understand the profound impact clearly. Welfare and social justice, Article 38. Manrega and Rural Transformation 2005 present. In 2005, the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act was introduced, inspired by the Constitution. It was in 2005. That time, I think Congress was in government. Okay, inspired by the constitutional amendment to social justice, it promised guarantee employment for rural people in remote villages like Jharkhand, Latehar districts. Manrega provided employment and dignity, transforming lives, elevating poverty, and dramatically improving rural welfare. Equal pay for equal work, Article 39. The Anganwadi workers fights. In 2017, thousands of Anganwadi workers across India protested fiercely, demanding equal pay and recognition, citing Article 39, which advocates equal pay for equal works. Those grassroots are caregivers want significant wages revisions, highlighting that the Constitution is still stronger alive for the justice. Right to work and educations. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan is 2001 to and present nationwide campaign Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan Education for All launched in 2001 transformed education access for millions driven by Article 41 which stresses the state's responsibility to provide education and campaign has dramatically increased literacy and school enrollment rates nationwide. Human conditions at work equals to Beti workers struggle 2014 in Murshidabad, okay, West Bengal, thousands of women rolling BDs face toxic conditions. BDs, okay, BDs workers struggle, okay, BDs. I think it's a Indian local version of this secret. Toxic condition exploitations after prolonged protests referring Article 42, human condition. Working condition, they secured better wages, healthcare facilities, and improved conditions, demonstrating contribution principle and actions, living wage and decent standard of life. The garment workers' victory in Bengaluru garment factories, women workers suffered exploitations and a low wage for decades. Massive peaceful protests erupted in 2016, demanding a living wage, minimum money for survival, dignity, and decent conditions after a sustained struggle, citing directive principle: the workers achieved improved wages and enhanced dignity. Uniform Civil Code, Article 44. Shah Bano case, the Shah Bano case in which divorced Muslim woman fought for her maintenance rights, sparked nationwide debate over the Uniform Civil Code, ensuring common rights irrespective of the religion. While deeply controversial, the case highlights the Constitution's inspiration equation of equality for all citizens. So the problem with India is that more than 60 to 70% is Hindu, and then you have like a 20 to 30% roughly Muslim, and then you have a minority Sikh, Buddhist, and Christian, right? Christianity. And the problem is that Hindu, they have a different religions. Hindu have a different religion, not religion. They have a different law in a sense that Hindu, Buddhist, and Sikh, they have a similar law under the constitutions, especially in terms of marriage and family-oriented laws. And Muslim, right, they have a different law because they have a Sharia law. That means they have a different law. In Christianity also they have a little different law. But if you compare it with the Muslim, it's quite anomaly. For example, a single Muslim, a male can marry up to 4 women at the same time, and they can divorce any women by just stating 3 talak 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 3 times. And the property also dispute is there, so that's why it's a very controversial. And in 2024 Lok Sabha elections, the national elections, the BJP wanted to bring a uniform civil code. That means to bring one law for all the religions irrespective of the different religions, right? But to do that you need an absolute, not absolute, I think you need a simple majority, right? Let me see, okay. For passing uniform civil code, okay, bill, how many votes are required? I think simple majority. In Lok Sabha, the cost to bill in India requires a simple majority. That's okay. Simple majority was required. Presence this one passing us in the constitution in India requires a simple majority if a members present and voting in both houses of parliament. While the BJP holds a solid majority in the Lok Sabha, it needs at least 119 votes in the upper house to pass the legislation, often requiring support from the minority. So the problem is that BJP, they were expecting there was a slogan. It says that Akhri bar 400 bar. That means next time for more than 400 seats, because in India I think the Lok Sabha seats are close to 543, and if you see more than 50%, then you need like a 240 something. You need 270, I think, right? So yeah, 270 to 14, yeah, around 270 something. If BJP seats to ensure that you can pass the bill. And also in Rajya Sabha, you need like a more than 50 percentage to pass the bill and president's signature. But because they couldn't, because they couldn't get BJP, I think some 200s, and they are in a coalition government. So that's why it's difficult to bring the uniform civil code, because they don't have much support in Rajya Sabha also. So that's why they are not able to bring. And but yeah, so but still, the even in a different states, right? I'm talking about the nationals. So if you're talking about the states, then in Gujarat, which was BJP majority, they have passed uniform civil code, and I think in Pondicherry also, and even in I think Uttarakhand, if I'm not wrong, they've passed a uniform civil code. So yeah, so they're passing it, and even in the West Bengal now they've won. I think 206 seats. That's a lot, right? That's more, that's close to 70% of the seats they've won. So they will pass uniform civil code, and also most of the BJP run governments, they want to pass the uniform civil code. I think yeah, I'm in favor of uniform civil code, right? If you're a one country, then there has to be one law, irrespective of the religions, right? Muslim, it's not like you can marry four women at the same time. There's a lot of dispute with respect to that also, right? So yeah, and this is just the basic, just a simple example. If you go deep, it's very difficult, and it's different also, right? Because there are a lot of inequality among the men and the male and the female in the marriage of the Muslim. Yeah, so that's why uniform civil code needs to be passed. And second, seventh is equals to protection of environment and welfare, Article 48A, Silent Valley Movement in Kerala. In 1970s, Kerala citizens mobilized fiercely against building a hydroelectric dam that threatened the Silent Valley unique ecosystem, guided by Article 48A. Advocating environmental protections, the campaign succeeded in 1985, saving the valley forever. This movement became a testament to a citizen invoking continental principles of protecting nature. So that's the problem. Now, I don't know how to draw the line. Right now, recently, I think it's not more than 1 week ago. The government of India, they've launched a project called. I mean, it's a long pending projects which will where the government was waiting for the approval from the environmental concerns, and they've got the approval now. I think they might be starting very soon. The Greater Nicobar project, where if you know that if you see the entire Indian Ocean, India, Indo-Pacific regions, most of the trade, I think close to 70 to 80% of the world's trade happens in the Indo-Pacific, in this one. And since it is the backyard of India, Indian Ocean is the backyard of India, it is the sole responsible of India to ensure that the entire region security is the sole responsibility of India, to ensure that they have the security ready and all those things. And for that, they need a lot of good navy, sound navy. So yeah, they are doing that. The government is focusing on the navy also. And then after that, what has happened is that India's Nicobar Island, right? So it's not exactly in India as such, but yeah, it is a part of India, but it's not exactly in India. This one, it has to go to the east. Okay, so the exact location will be Indian Oceans. If you go the map of the India, if you consider Indian map in the center, then you have to go little southeast side, and you will find near Indonesia. Right, near Indonesia, there's a Malacca Strait, and in their Malacca Strait there is the Andaman and Nicobar Island, which is of India's, and they wanted to develop greater projects because there's a Malacca Strait, just like the Strait of Hormuz. There's a Malacca Strait where most of the, I think 60 to 70% of the Chinese trade happens through this. So if you really wanted to later, if there's any fight or any of those things with the China, then you can ensure that you have leverage over the China, because if you block this entire the place, then you could have an upper hand when you are having a fight with the China. So that's why it's very important. And not just China, right? If you want the global security and all those things, if you want to be a superpower and all those things, regional, gradual, right now regional power, and then this one gradually, eventually a superpower, then you have to ensure that your navy is good. You have a good security in your in every choke points. So that's why we were I think they are planning to develop a huge, I think 82 or 92,000 crores are to be spent in the next years, next few decades. They, I think they're planning to make a big uh, what was that, man? Airport, right? So airport, military airports, run two air runways and all those things. So yeah, 92,000 is not a small project, right? So, and this will, actually help, maritime security of India. And not just that, they're also, constructing or manufacturing or building a transshipment, a big port. That means, so what happens is that most of the India's export, right, the cargo, when we export and import, it doesn't directly come to India. It's called transshipment. So what happened is that India does not have a big port where the waters are deep. So that's why whenever India imports something or exports, then the, if you, in a big port, the big ship, the cargo, it does not come to India because India lacks deep water, deep, the deep port, and the technical, the technological advancement and all those things. So that's why that ship, right, the big cargo, it goes to either Colombo, that is Sri Lanka's capital, because they have a big port, or they go to the I think, what is it called, Singapore or nearby, the big, big port. And then what happened is that they load there, and then with a small ship they go to the India. So that's, it's known as a transshipment, and for that India loses a lot of money because they have to pay the fees for the Colombo and all those things. So that's why India is also developing its own transshipment, some big the port or something in the Great Nicobar Island. So that will also help in a maritime security. So that's the main problem. And so yeah, so I'm here talking about this one, and but because recently they've announced this project, but there are a lot of activists were concerned about the, the environment and all those things. They're protesting, right? So now the question comes: can they invoke Article 48A, protection of environment and wildlife? So that's why the project, took so much of a time, because they need a clearance from the environment, the concerns, and finally they got it. But still, most of the activists are not happy. So that's why it's very difficult in India if you want to develop something, right? For example, even in the, Ladakh area, where the border road organizations, if you want to, if you want a good infrastructures near the border, which is required for the national security, then obviously you do have to cut a lot of, trees and all those, and there will be some damages to the environment. But then activists, right, they just comes up and they just flows the entire process, and it goes to the tribunal. It takes a lot of time, and in the meantime there's a loss of productivity, right? So that's why you have to understand all of those things also. And it actually, slows down the entire process. Okay, so pollution is corruption. Okay, so just wait. Okay, I just got a thought. This is exactly what happens with me in my mind. When I read something, or when I talk about something, a lot of different thoughts comes in, and if I don't just search it right now, I just, I forget it later, right? The topic that I got to under this one just got suddenly is that, is pollution, no, not pollution, it's corruption. Corruption is also known as a, corruption act as a, corruption is a grease for development, right? So corruption piece of the development or something. There's an article, corruption is, yeah, so there's an article which talks about the corruption is the grease for the economy, grease of the economy. Corruption is the grease, corruption is the grease is a controversial economic theory suggesting that bribery and corruption helps grease the wheel. Okay, grease. Grease means that, if I'm not wrong, grease means something which makes it easier, right? Yeah, so grease means the liquid, a thick, solid, solid lubricants composed of an oil and thick, used to reduce frictions and protect machinery. Okay, so corruption is the grease, corruption is a grease for the economy. Corruption is, okay, so that thing. So yeah, I was talking about that thing. So that's why, there has to be some, okay, so I was talking about the environment, right? So that's why if something is of a national security, then I think we do have to stop the activists from invoking the fundamental rights, Article 48A, protection of environment and wildlife. But now the question is, the government can say whatever they're doing, everything is national security. So that's why there's, there has to draw a line. So yeah, protection, did I read this? Body, okay, this one. So yeah, so the example was, Kerala citizen mobilized fiercely against the building a hydroelectricity dam. Now see, because of the activists and all those things, the hydroelectricity dam is not built. Now they have to rely more on oil, and then eventually electricity will be less. And then, for example, currently, I'm just giving an example, right? Hypothetical scenario. So the dam is not there, so that means there's no electricity. So they have to, do everything by oil, coal, and all those things. So now oil and is not coming because the Strait of Hormuz is closed, because there's a war in the Middle East. Now the problem comes. So that's why it's become, So that's why the most independent, the most important thing for any country to become is energy independent. Now, 8, protection of monuments and heritage, Article 49, saving Hampi heritage. Hampi, I think it's in Karnataka. In 1999, UNESCO placed Hampi, Karnataka, on the endangered heritage site list due to neglect. Citizens and activists driven by Article 49's duty to protect heritage rallied passionately. They determined efforts to restore Hampi, preserving India's priceless heritage for future generations. Why do directive principle matters to you? Directive principles provides a roadmap for India's future, embedding compassion, justice, and equity into governance. Every scheme, be it a free midday meal, guaranteed rural employment, or environmental protection, it is guided by this principle. They remind you that the state's duty isn't merely governance, but ensuring dignity, fairness, and prosperity for every citizen. Directive principle versus fundamental rights. Directive principles and fundamental rights are complementary. While rights protects your freedoms and dignity, directive principles guide government to build a fair, compassionate society. Together, they balance individual liberty with collective welfare, crafting a vibrant democracy where freedom thrives and democracy prevails. Conclusion: building a nation of justice. Stories like Read-Aloud and countless other reminds us that directive principles aren't just ideals; they shape everyday lives, influencing policies that directly uplift millions. By understanding this principle, you can hold government accountable, demand fairness, and actively participate in India's continuous evolution toward justice and equality. The Constitution's vision becomes reality only when the citizens, engage, questions, and act. Your awareness ensures justice isn't merely promised, genuinely delivered. And the next chapter now talks about the chapter number 5, the Parliament and lawmaking simplified. So now here we'll talk about the how the laws are made and how the bills are passed. Bill, when passed, it becomes an act. Yeah. So chapter number 5, the Parliament and lawmaking simplified. The villagers who changed Indian law, the birth of Right to Information Act, the Parliament and lawmaking simplified, Bewar, Rajasthan, 1990s. Shankar Singh, a daily wage labourer, had just worked 14 days on a road construction project under a government scheme. When payment time came, the contractor said, "Your name isn't on the muster roll. No work, no pay." But Shankar had worked, he had sweat and blister to prove it. That's when Aruna Roy, a former IAS officer turned activist, made a simple demand: show us the muster roll. The contractor refused, the local official refused, the district collector refused. The reason: government documents are confidential. But Shankar Singh had a question that would change India. If it's my work, my wages, my taxpayers' money, why can't I see the record? That question became movement. That act became the Right to Information Act 2005, and today over 60 lakh Right to Information applications are filed every year. Even I'm one of them. So I did file Right to Information in my to get the answer shipped of the CAE Foundation exam. Exposing corruption, saving lives, and proving Parliament doesn't just make laws for the people. Sometimes people make laws through the Parliament. In the Parliamentary Responses Right to Information Act 2005, years of public protest, hunger strikes, and pressures finally moved the Parliament of India. After debates in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, the Right to Information Act was passed on June 15th, 2005, and came into force on October 12, 2005. Key features of the Right to Information Act: any citizen can request information from any public authority. Okay, so Right to Information, right, RTI. Any citizens can request information from any public authority. Department must respond within 30 days. Failure to comply leads to penalties. Central and state information commissions were created to monitor compliance. This was one of the most transformative laws ever passed with the Parliament. The real result of law made by citizens. In 2010, Right to Information request exposed 300 crores in corruption in the Commonwealth Games. In 2011, a student used RTI to obtain answer sheet from UPSC and challenge discrepancies. This is exactly what I did. Not challenge, but yeah, to obtain answer sheets. In 2014, an RTI query led to the exposure of a fake degree by political candidates. Today, over 60 lakh Right to Information applicants are filed every year in India. Why this story matters in chapters on Parliament? Because the Parliament is not a distant temple of law. It is your lawmaking body. Because the Parliament is not a distant temple of law. It is your lawmaking body. This story proves you don't need to be an MP to write a law. If citizens are informed and persistent, Parliament listens. The laws that impact your everyday life are written by those you vote for and can be shaped by those who understand the power. Other key laws passed by the Parliament after citizen movement. Lokpal and Lokayuktas Act 2013. After Anna Hazare anti-corruption movement created an independent ombudsman for public complaints. NREGA, guaranteed employment influenced by the demands from the rural communities and economists. Disability Rights Act, strengthened protection after years of advocacy by disability rights group. Why you must know how laws are made? Because law don't fall from the sky. They are written by the people you elect. They are shaped by the voices that won't stay silent, and they can be challenged, improved, and reimagined by you. This chapter will walk you through how Parliament works, how laws are passed, and how ordinary citizen can be extraordinary lawmaker without ever entering the Lok Sabha. Power of People, Anna Hazare Movement 2011. It was August 16, 2011, when thousands of people gathered at Ram Leela Maidan, New Delhi, waving the Indian flag and chanting slogan demanding transparency and accountability. Among them stood a 74 years old man dressed simply in white, Anna Hazare, who had embarked on a hunger strike demanding the parliament to pass a strong anti-corruption law, the Jan Lokpal bill. Anna wasn't a politician; he was an ordinary villager from Relegan, Sindhi, Maharashtra. Yet, his quiet resolve galvanized millions nationwide, turning an individual protest into a historic people's movement. Within days, streets across India overflowed with the peaceful protest, candlelight marches, and public discussions. Under immense public pressure, Parliament debated extensively, eventually passing the Lokpal and Lokayukta Act 2013, landmark anti-corruption law. This extraordinary event vividly showed citizens that Parliament isn't a distance or disconnected. Rather, it is a responsive, powerful institution meant to echo their voices. Power of People, Anna Hazare's Movement 2011. I know the Anna Hazare. Just wait, let me see Anna H. Hazare. I want to see the picture of the guy. Okay, so was born in. He's 88 years old. He was born in Bingar. It's in okay. It's in Maharashtra. Okay, Padma Bhushan. Okay, I think he was the founder of some party, if I'm not wrong. He's an Indian social activist who has led movement to promote rural developments, increase government transparency, and investigate and punish corruptions. What is Anna Hazare famous for? Anna Hazare is a renowned Indian social activist, best known for leading the 2011 India Against Corruption movement, which utilized hunger strike to demand a strong Lokpal bill, anti-corruption. Okay, so it was 2011. Thousands of people gathered at Ram Leela Maidan, waving the Indian flag and chanting slogan demanding transparency and accountability. Among them stood a 74 years old man dressed simply in a white and unhazard. Okay, and under immense public pressure, Parliament debated extensively and eventually passing the Lokpal and Lok Yuktas Act 2013, a landmark anti-corruption law. This extraordinary event vividly showed citizens that Parliament isn't a distant or disconnected. Rather, it is a responsive, powerful institution meant to echo their voices, reflect their will, and protect their interest. What exactly is Parliament? Inside India's Parliament consists of two houses: the Lok Sabha, the House of the People. Okay, so yeah, India consists of Lok Sabha and the Raj Sabha. The Lok Sabha means this is the House of the People. The people directly elected, elects them. House of the People, and then the Raj Sabha, the Council of States, along with the President. They form India's supreme legislative body. Just wait, okay. I think the MLAs, right? How? Just wait, okay. How is President elected of India elected? I think it's because President indirectly elected for a 5-year term by an electoral college consisting of elected members of the both houses of the parliaments and legislative assemblies of the all states and union territories. Okay, so President of India is elected by both electoral college consisting of elected members of both House of Parliaments, members of Parliament, and legislative assemblies of all the state and union territories. That means all the Lok Sabha and the MLAs. The election uses a proportional representation system with a single transferable vote, where votes are weighted for uniformity. The electoral college consists of elected members of the Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha MPs and elected members of the state legislative assembly, including Delhi and Pondicherry. Nominated members do not participate. Weighted voting system, MLA vote value calculated based on the state population divided by the numbers of elected MLAs. Okay, so based on proportion calculated based on the state population divided by the numbers of elected MLAs, and MP vote value is total value of all the MLA votes divided by the total number of elected MPs. Proportional representation is single transferable votes. Electoral rank candidates, the candidate must secure a required quota of votes to win, not just a simple majority. Eligibility criteria: a candidate must be a citizen of India, at least 35 years old, and qualified to be members of the Lok Sabha. They must not hold any office of profit. Supervision: the election is conducted by the Election Commission of India. The president serves 5 years and eligible for re-elections. Okay, I want to see Election Commission of India. Okay, who is the president? Who is the election? Who is elects the president of India? What is the term of the? Just wait. Okay, Election Commission
of India. Election of a head. So I want to know who is the president. As of this one, Ganesh Kumar is the 26th election commissioner of India. Election commissioner, chief election commissioners of India, having assumed office on 25. He heads the autonomous. Okay, so who elects? Okay, so it's Ganesh Kumar. Ganesh Kumar is the current chief election commissioner of India and the first to be appointed under the chief in this first. Okay, who elects the not president, chief election commissioner of India? The president of India appoints the chief election commissioners and other election commissions under the new appointment mechanism as per 2023 regulation. The appointment is made based on the recommendations of a selection committee, which includes the prime minister, a union cabinet ministers, and the leaders of opposition in Lok Sabha. Appointments equals to president of India. This, chief election commissioner can be removed from the office in the same manner as a judge of the Supreme Court of India. Okay, so yeah. So now what exactly is the parliament? Okay, along with the president, they form India's supreme legislative body. Simply put, parliament is where the laws are proposed, debated, and enacted, directly impacting every citizen's life. Lok Sabha versus Raj Sabha, why two houses? Think of it like this. Lok Sabha is equals to the voice of the people. Okay, so Lok Sabha means the voice of the people now. Raj Sabha, the voice of the wisdom and federalism. But even the MLAs, right? MLAs, and just wait, okay. They elect. Okay, just wait, okay. I know, but I don't know, like, how are MP of Raj Sabha elected? MP of Raj Sabha elected. Raj Sabha members are elected indirectly by the elected members of the state legislative assembly through a system of proportional representation using a single transferable vote. Those representatives are not directly voted for by the public, but rather by the MLA and who rank the preference of candidates. Electoral college. Okay, so that's why Raj Sabha there is the electoral college. Electoral college means elected members of the state legislative assembly, that means MLA, and elected members of the Union Territorial Legislative Assembly vote in this election. Proportional representation. The system used is known as the single transferable votes, ensuring representation for different parties based on their strength in the assembly. Open ballot system introduced in 2003. The system requires MLA to show their ballot paper to their authorized party representative, giving casting at this one. State seat allocation. Seats in the Rajya Sabha are allotted to state based on the population. The term and retirements. Members serve a 6-year term. Okay, so that is the different thing, right? So MP of the Rajya Sabha, they serve 6 years. Members serve a 6-year term with 1/3 of the members retiring. Okay, so they serve for 6 years, and 1/3 of the members, that means 33.33%, will retire every 2 years. With 1/3 of the members retire every 2 years, ensuring House is never dissolved. And the President of India nominates 12 members to the Rajya Sabha from fields such as literature, science, art, and social services. Okay, so nominated members goes to the President of India nominates. The President of India nominates 12 members to the Rajya Sabha from fields such as literature, science, art, and social services. Why does not vote? Because nominated members in the state legislation and will not participate in the elections. Members of the okay, just I want to know. Okay, how? Okay, I want to know in detail how MLA, right? Okay, they vote. Okay, this the election system. The election follows the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote equals to preference voting. As MLA ranks candidates in order of preference. Okay, so MLA does, right? One second ballot paper winning quota. A candidate does not need the most vote to win, but must reach a specific quota of first preference. Quota formula. The required votes are calculated equals to quota equals to total cast votes divided by number of seats plus 1 plus equals to transfer. If a candidate exceeds the quota, the surplus votes are transferred to the next preferred candidate. If no one reaches the quota, then candidate with the previous estimated. Key features of Rajya Sabha election: permanent house. Rajya Sabha is never fully dissolved. 1/3 of its members retire. This one term length each is on. To prevent cross voting, MLA must show their marked ballot to the party. Seat allocation: the number of seats for each state is determined with population. For example, there has the highest number of seats. Nominated members: out of the 250 possible seats, 12 members are nominated by this ones. Okay, just wait. Okay, but can MLA of states vote any MP for Rajya Sabha? Yeah. Can MLA of states vote any MP for Rajya Sabha? Okay, so they have not given a proper response. Okay, just wait. Electoral college. The Parliament of India is bicameral with 2 houses. Rajya Sabha and this one. Okay, responsibilities of members of the Parliament equals to legislative. Okay, special powers, make law equals to term qualifications, disqualification being Parliament equals to compositions, members of the Rajya Sabha, and okay, it's not there. Okay, so Lok Sabha equals to, and the voice of the wisdom and federalism. Lok Sabha is equals to House of the people.
So the members equals to 243. 243 plus 2 nominated. Lok Sabha is equals to House of the People. Members equals to 243 elected plus 2 nominated. Term is equals to 5 years. Elected by direct voting by the citizens. Representatives equals to population. Bigger states have more seats. Powers: can introduce many money bills, budget taxes, can dismiss government through no confidence, more powerful in financial matters. Rajya Sabha, a council of states. Rajya Sabha is equals to Rajya Sabha equals to council of states. Council of people, House of the People. So this is known as the House of the People, and Rajya Sabha is known as the Council of States. Members is equals to 238 elected. Members is equals to 238 elected plus 12 nominated. So 38 plus 12 to 50, right? Term is equals to 6 years, 1/3 data every 2 years. Permanent House and elected by state legislative assemblies. Indirect, representing equals to states. Each state gets seat regardless of the size. Okay, each state gets regardless of size. Okay, just wait. Okay, how many MP are there in Raj Sabha of each state? So yeah, Rajya Sabha seats are allotted to Indian states based on populations, with a total number of 233 elected members and 12 nominated members. Uttar Pradesh has the highest representative of 31 seats, while several smaller states have only one. The fourth scheduled to consideration list. Okay, so there is Uttar Pradesh equals to 39. That's a lot, man. Uttar Pradesh 39, Maharashtra 19, Tamil Nadu 18, and West Bengal 16, Bihar equals to 16, Karnataka 12, Andhra Pradesh 11, Madhya Pradesh 11, Kerala 9. Okay, so Sikkim there is only one. Goa 1, Tripura, Mizoram, Manipur, Arunachal, mostly 1, Delhi 2. And yeah, so represents this one. Stand powers is equals to cannot introduce money bills. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought they can bill. Okay, Lok Sabha. Okay, so there's a difference. Okay, Lok Sabha equals to power equals to can introduce money bills, budget and taxes. Okay, can dismiss government through no confidence, more powerful in financial matters. Okay, more powerful in financial matters. Rajya Sabha equals to cannot introduce money bills, cannot dismiss government, can delay bills, suggest amendments, stronger role in constitutional amendments. Okay, why both is equals to Lok Sabha ensures democracy, people's will. Rajya Sabha ensures federalism, that means states' right. Okay, so yeah, federal system, so that means the states' right. I want to see what is the proper definition of federalism. Federalism meaning it's a council of states. Federalism is a system of government where power is constitutionally divided between a central authority and a constituent region in one states or provinces, ensuring both national unity and local autonomy. It enables shared governance, allowing regional government to manage local affairs. And power cannot, okay, this one's okay. Why both? Because Lok Sabha ensures democracy, Rajya Sabha ensures federalism, that means states' right, plus prevents hasty laws. And example, the triple talaq bill. So yeah, triple talaq means in Muslim, in I think it's Sharia law, a husband can just say or recite 3 times talaq, 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 and it's a official divorce. So example, the triple talaq bill 2019. In 2019, the Lok Sabha passed the triple talaq bill very quickly because the BJP had a clear majority. Okay, yes, they have a clear majority in BJP. However, in the Rajya Sabha, where the BJP did not have a majority, the bill was debated for several months. Opposition members suggested important changes and improvements. After discussion and amendments, a stronger and fairer law was finally passed. Why the bicameral system matters? Okay, what is bicameral? Cameral meaning. Bicameral refers to government body. Bicameral. Okay, bicameral refers to government body such as the parliament or congress composed of 2 separate legislative. Okay, so bi means 2. Okay, chamber means chamber. Okay, so that's why bicameral or houses, that is a senate and a house of representative. It derived from the Latin roots meaning 2 chambers and contrasts with the unicameral system. Okay, bicameral. Okay, bicameral. So that's why it's a bicameral. Just wait. Okay, is triple talaq allowed in India? So let's see. Instant triple talaq. Okay, so now instant triple talaq is not valid and it's not it's illegal in India. The Supreme Court declared it unconstitutional in 2017. It is not a criminal offense under the Muslim Women Protections, which can lead to the fine up to 3 years in prison. Okay, so why the bicameral system matters? The 2 houses, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, exist to ensure that the laws are made with both speed and wisdom. The Lok Sabha represents the people's will and act quickly. The Rajya Sabha reviews, debates, and refines those with the deeper thoughts. So together, they make sure that the new laws are not just fast but fair and balanced. How does Parliament make laws? Step 1: someone gets an idea, could be prime member of Parliament, minister, citizen, petitions to court order, crisis. And second, bill is drafted. Parliamentary draftments write legal languages vetted by the law ministry, cabinet approval. If government bill First reading introductions. Bill introduced in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Just the title and objectives read. No debate yet. Second reading is to the real fight. General discussion was in principle. Bill sent to standing committee for detailed review. Committee can call experts, citizens, stakeholders, clause by clause voting, and amendments can be proposed. Third reading, a final debate, a last chance to speak for and against, vote taken, simple or special majority needed depending on the bill type. Other house repeats process. Both house disagrees. Joint committee formed, and president ascending goes to okay. If it goes to this one, and president can sign, become a law. Return for reconsideration. Parliament can override. Pocket veto, just sit on it. Okay, so they can do that also, right? So to pocket on veto. But then what good does it do, right? Just sit on it. Pocket veto, notification published in official gazettes to becomes enforceable, right? So the timeline equals to fastest 2 days emergency laws, average 6 to 12 months. The longest equals some bills pending since 1989. Example, right to information bill, drafted 2004, introduced 2004, standing committee review 3 months, passed Lok Sabha equals 2005, passed Rajya Sabha 2005, president's assent equals to 2005, came into force October 12, 2005, total time equals to 10 months from idea to law. You don't need to be an MP to shape laws. Here's what nobody tells you. Parliament is more accessible than you think. 5 ways to influence lawmaking. Petition your MP. Yeah, every MP has a public office hours. Email find on Lok Sabha website. Issue equals to constituency problems or national issues. So they must respond. Rules requires it. Example, in 2018, citizen petitions 200 plus MPs about the plastic ban. Result, single-use plastic ban 2019. Submit to standing committee. When bill go to committee review, they call for public inputs. You can submit written suggestions. Find open consultations in prsindia.org. Example, privacy activists submitted 600 plus pages to IT committee. Result, change to personal data protection bill. Use social media. MPs now actively on Twitter, Instagram, tag them in a post about the issue. Trending topics for forced parliamentary debates. Example, justice for SSR trended. Rajya Sabha discussed film industry. Sushant Singh Rajput, okay, could be, I don't know, file in a public interest litigation. Yeah, PIL is very common. Public interest litigation. If law is unconditional, challenge in the courts. The court can strike down or order parliament domain. Example, section 377 struck down LGBTQ rights. Organize and protest peacefully. Large movement forced parliamentary responses. Anna Hazare farmer protest, CAA protest. Example, farmer protest, 3 law repealed in 2011. Remember, MPs work for you. Parliament is your house. Democracy isn't a spectators vote, it's a participation. Start today. Find your MP at loksabha.inc and I1. Then send one email about one issue you can get about. So real life impactful laws passed by the Parliament. One is equals to Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 provided powerful protection for women facing abuse at home. Story. The relentless advocacy of women rights group ensured Parliament passed this groundbreaking law enabling women across India to seek justice and protection from domestic abuse. 2 is equals to the Criminal Law Amendments Act to 2013 Nirbhaya case, strengthen laws and against sexual violence through the tragic of 2011 2012 Delhi gang rape. I think I've heard of this Nirbhaya. Story, massive public protest following the horrific incident forced Parliament to act swiftly, significantly improving their protection and legal recourse for the women against sexual crimes. So why should Parliament matter to you? Every decision Parliament makes shapes your life. Education, healthcare, and employment, safety, justice, understanding how laws are made empowers you to participate actively, ensuring law reflect your values and concerns, and your votes, your voice, and your awareness shape Parliament's actions. How can you engage with the Parliament? Vote consciously in elections, participate in public debates and movement like Anna Hazare campaign, petition members of Parliament directly on issues impacting your community, stay informed about the parliamentary sessions and debates. Resources equals to become a Parliament watcher, want to see how laws are really made. PRS legislative research, prsindia.org, track all bills. Okay, so you can track all the bills. Okay, just wait. PRS-ONG equals to, let me research. Okay, let me see if I can. Okay, there's a quote, and let's go. If there's any bill that I need to track. Bills Parliament, monthly review. Bills Parliament equals to the delimitation bill 2026 introduced is equals to okay. So union territory laws equals to okay. Okay, I think the constitution provides that seat in Lok Sabha must be allocated to state in proportion. Okay, so yeah, you have everything. Okay, this is the bill. The delimitation bill 2026 Ministry Law and Justice introduced equals to Lok Sabha April. Infructuous. That means it's not okay. Just wait. Okay, infructuous meaning. Infructuous.
Infructuous.
Infructuous. Infructuous.
Infructuous.
Infructuous.
Infructuous.
Infructuous is an adjective meaning fruitless, unproductive, or without purposes. So it was infructuous. So Lok Sabha equals to infructuous, and this is the entire. Okay, it's good, man. It's everything is given. Population, current seats. I want to read it, man. Okay, I'll just try reading the delimitation bill 2026. The Constitution. Okay, so I'll just give you a little context. Recently means April. The April 16, 2026. The emergency parliament were called, and the Amit Shah, BJP, they've introduced a bill called delimitations and women reservation, 33.3% women reservation bill. And for that, they have to do amendment in a sense, on the delimitation means they have to increase the numbers of the member of parliament in the Lok Sabha. And at the same time, there's a consent, this one simultaneous census going on. And yeah, so that's the main thing. And then later what happened was that, okay, so I'll just explain it in a brief. Just wait. Okay, I just need some little data of how many seats. Just wait. Okay, 56% Lok Sabha. I know it because I've read it, properly. Delimitation bill. Okay, I think 800 something. Delimitation bill, MP to increase to. Yeah, so the delimitation bill 2026 constitution 131st amendment proposes to get the maximum of Lok Sabha. Right? Okay, so currently we have 543 members of parliament seats, and that is based on the population of the earlier year. Okay, so just wait. Okay, I'll see. I think it's 2000. 843. Just wait. Number of MP in number of MPs in Lok Sabha 243 plus 2. What is that 2? As of this one, there are 543 elected members of the parliament. The constitution permits a maximum 550 elected members. Elections are held across. Okay, this one. Which are this ones? Okay, so yeah. So the number of currently this 543 is based on which census? CNSUs. So normally what happened is that member of parliament, right? Okay, number of MPs are decided based on the populations. So I think if I'm not wrong, around 5 lakh population, there's one MP. But that okay, so the current 543 elected seat in the Lok Sabha are based in the 1971 census. So 1971 census, there's a census, and based on that, the number of member of parliament is based. Right now, we have, I think the population has increased more than, I think 60-70%. Now we have like 1.5 something billion people. So that means we have to increase the number of seats, number of MPs. So what they have done is that they wanted to, introduce the delimitation bill, where the number of MP in the Lok Sabha will increase. So that's why they built a new parliament, right? So which was inaugurated by the prime minister. So for that they have to pass a bill, and the bill, well, the roll number is 543. So they want to increase it to how many? They want to increase it to 850. Right now, the problem is that the states, right? Okay, there was a lot of confusion, that and then also, right? This is the limitation. So what happened is that this is the delimitation bill, and second, there is a women reservation bill. So women reservation bill is a bill which was introduced, and I think it was confirmed also, right? Later got that 33.33% of the Lok Sabha members seats will be reserved for the women, and all the parties were for it. So now recently, on 16 or 17 April, what BJP did is that they merged these two bill, and they wanted to put forward a one single bill of these two to get, it's like a, they've just, aggregated both of bill, and then they wanted to pass the bill together. So most of the people would say that, okay, so there is 850 bill, right? So 850 bill. So 850, just wait, okay, I'll just keep the calculator. And if it's, okay, so there's a 850 bill. So 850 into 33.33 is equals to 850 into 33.33 is equals to, it's going to be 283, right? 283 or 84 out of 850 will be girl. At least this much, 284 will be the women seats, right? But the twist here is that what BJP said is that currently there is 543 seats, and says that 543 seats will remain as normal currently, and there are some few women's also. But now, if you minus it, 850 minus 543, now there is an extra 307 seats, right? That needs to be introduced, So the BJP's claim is that, okay, so we will not change anything. So what we will do is that currently we have 543, so we'll keep the same thing, and we'll minus 850 minus 543, the number will be 307, and then 307 will give 284 from there, minus 284 is to 284, we'll give it for the women for this, and then there will be 23 more seats, and then 23 more seats equals to, it'll give it to whoever wins, right? And the problem with the most of the South Indian, the problem with the other party majorly is that in delimitations, they want to increase the number of member of parliament. So as I told you, the members of parliament seats are based on the populations, right? And population is that, and number of the MP will be based on the populations. So the South, what they argue is that from the 1900s, we've focused on educations, we focused on educations, we focused on the investments, we focused on growing our GDP and all that thing. And normally what happens is that if education is good, then the population will growth will be less, right? Because of the sex education and all those things. So that's why they have a comparatively lower population as compared to the UP, the main BJP seats, right? Okay, the BJP, the base, right? Okay, Bihar, UP, and now West Bengal also, all those states, right? Because the population, because there are less educated people and a lot of poor people, and then more population are there. So what happened is that you're not incentivizing, growth in terms of overall, holistic growth. Because see, okay, if the MP will number of MP will increase based on the population. So obviously UP, Bihar, Maharashtra, all those have more population, so their percentage of growth will be more as compared to the other southern states. So their main concern is that, okay, so if the number of the MP will increase, then their vote in a percentage of the share in the total voting power in the member of parliament will reduce, right? Which is fine, right? Because you have to take into consideration GDP. So some people say that, okay, so you also along with the population, you should also consider GDP. The who's contributing more to the GDP. So then later what happened is that it's not given. It's not written, but the BJP did say that it's fine. But now what we will do is that, okay, we will give 50% increase in all the states, which is actually a good thing for most of the people, southern state, because if they do it on a population basis, they will be at a loss. But if they do it like 50%, for example, if right now if the South have 100 MPs, then 50% means they'll get 150, right? 50 extra. And even in the North, if they have 100, then they'll get 50%. That means even they'll get 50. So 50% all, right, including. But it's not written. It's not in a written. They just said, okay, we'll do it. So that's why they've not passed the bill, because they say that later they might change also. So that's why the bill and both of them reservation got cancelled, and the bill did not result in any. It was infructuous, right? I think it was. What was it, man? It was infructuous, right? I think it was called infructuous. Yeah, infructuous.
Infructuous.
Infructuous. Okay, not infructuous. Okay, infructuous. Infructuous.
Infructuous.
Infructuous. So it was infructuous. It was fruitless, and now I think it was in the middle of the Bengal election also. Not middle, but yeah, it was around that election. So then BJP started saying that, okay, so they are against women because they are not supporting the women reservation bill and all those things, which also played a significant, I think, which did play some role in the election of the Bengal. And the BJP won 206 seats, that is close to 70%. I'm not sure, did you understand or not, but I just tried my best. I would have summarized, I would have articulated better, would I have had the proper time and the data, but I thought of it abruptly, so that's why. Okay, so resource become a parliament watcher, want to see how laws are made. Okay, so PR legends, track all the bills, explain in simple language. Okay, just wait. Okay, I was doing the re-limitation bill. I'm reading it out. The Constitution provides that a seat in Lok Sabha must be allocated to state in proportion to the population. Further, constituencies within each state should have roughly the same population. It requires that constituencies should be redrawn, also called delimited, after each census. Similar provision apply to the state assemblies, though through the 42nd Constitution Amendment 1976, the total numbers of the seat of each state in Lok Sabha and the total number of seats in the state assemblies was frozen based on 1971. Okay, yeah, so that's why it was frozen in 1971 census. This freeze was initially applicable until the publication of the first census of 2000. The 84th Constitutional Amendment in 2001 extended this freeze until the publications of the first census until these funds. This was done as a motivational measure to enable this government, state government, to pursue agenda for population stabilizations. The 106th Constitutional Amendment in 2023 introduces a reservation of 1/3 of seats for the women in Lok Sabha and state assemblies. This reservation will be based on the first census after the commencement of the 2023 Act. The reference date for the ongoing census is March 1, 2027. Considering that the next Lok Sabha election will be held in 2029, it is unlikely that delimitation exercise based on the 2027 census will be completed before the 2029. This would imply that reservation for the women will not apply to the 2029 Lok Sabha election. Okay, I don't get it. What? considering that the next Lok Sabha election will be held in 2029, okay, it is unlikely that delimitation exercise based on 2027 census will be completed before the 2029 elections. Okay, so, okay, now I understood, right? So in 2029 election, I don't think there will be any women reservation bill till then, because the women reservation was passed in 2023, and that 2023, and then that 33.3 percentage will be based on the census of 2027, right? And 29, I don't think that the time gap is very less, so that's why I don't think it'll happen. So that's why reservation will have to wait for the next election. See, okay, I'll read it again. The 106 constitutional amendment in 2023 introduced reservation of 1/3 seats for the women in Lok Sabha and state assemblies. This reservation will be based on the first census after the commencement of the 2023 Act. The reference date for the ongoing census is March 1, 2027. Considering that the next Lok Sabha election will be held in 2029, it is unlikely that delimitation exercise based on the 2027 census will be completed before the 2029 election. This would imply that the reservation for the women will not apply to 2029 election Lok Sabha. The last delimitation commission was constituted in 2022 and its order were finalized in 2008. Okay, the last delimitation commission was constituted in 2002 and its re-orders was finalized in 2008. 3 bills have been introduced in Lok Sabha on April 16, 2026. The Constitution is the 131st Amendment Bill and the Union Territories Law Bill 2026 and the Delimitation Bill 2026. This bill increases the size of the Lok Sabha. Okay, so now I think it's not 2, but they have brought 3 bills together. And because of that, I think most of the people, they got confused. Even in social media, it's all over the social media at that time that, okay, they were playing all those things, okay? And 3 bills have been introduced, okay? And the bill increases the size of the Lok Sabha, seeks to enable delimitation based on the 2011 census and enable reservation for women to be based on this delimitations. Okay, so I'll just try to explain in a basic that the delimitation will happen. It will happen, right? Delimitation will happen. It just needs a simple majority, which BJP has it, right? That time, the women reservation plus delimitation both need 75% reservation. I think it was 3/4 majority needed, which they didn't get. Okay, is it simple majority 1/3? Okay, 2/3 or I actually forgot. I think it was 2/3, right? 66.6. Not exactly sure about that. Okay, so yeah, I'll just later confirm it. So then what happened is that right now the delimitation wants to, the BJP wants delimitation to happen, but the delimitations to BJP wants delimitations. That means the number of the members in the Lok Sabha seats to increase, and that election will happen in 2029, right? But now the question is delimitations. This one, right? If the delimitations has to happen on some data, and the population census will complete in 2027, but that 2027 will be too late if you were to do delimitations, right? For the Lok Sabha in 2029, it will be too late. So the BJP wants to do delimitations on the data based on 2011, right? And also the women reservation bill in 2011. And now looking back the hindsight, I think opposition leaders, they've done a big blunder by not accepting this bill, because this bill will give them an advantage in terms of the numbers of member of parliament, because they've said that everyone will get each MP will get 50% of seats. That means South and North, irrespective of the population, they will get 50% increase in their seat. But now, since the bill has failed, that means now the bill has to come after the 2027 election delimitations. Then it will be based on the population, and if it's based on the populations, just population, not an absolute 50%, then those states who have a high population, they'll get more member of parliament seats. So it was a loss, and I think it was a big move by BJP also, because BJP people, they know that they don't have that majority to win. Simple majority they have. If it's 50%, they have. I think they need just wait. Okay, delimitation bill was failed. Okay, delimitation bill was infructuous, right? So infructuous by not achieving what majority? Not majority simple or Okay, so they need 2/3 majority. That means they need 66.66%, which they didn't get it. So that's why, okay, they have simple majority, 50%. They need 2/3 majority, right? Okay, 2/3 means 66. That they didn't have it. So yeah. And key features goes to, okay, the delimitation to be in a proportion to population. Yeah, I told you that the constitution amendment will revert to the principles of each state having a seats in proportion to its population. This implies that Lok Sabha constituencies across states will have roughly the same population. Parliament to decide the census to be used for delimitations. The constitution specifies that delimitation will be carried out every census and it will be based on that census. The constitution amendment bill authorizes Parliament to pass a law to determine when delimitation will be undertaken and which census will be used. A separate bill, the delimitation 2026, provides that the latest published census as on the date of constitutions of the delimitation bill will be used. This implies that 2011 census will be used for the next delimitations. Increase in the maximum numbers of seats in Lok Sabha. The constitution provides that Lok Sabha will have a maximum of 515 members up to. Okay, so currently the constitution says that it can have a maximum 550 seats in the members, but now it has to be amended, right, to increase it to 850 members from states and up to 20 members from union territories. The constitutional amendment will increases the maximum number of members to 850 with up to 815 members from states and up to 35 members of the union territory. Commencements of reservation for women. 106 constitution equals to amendment introduces reservation of 1/3 of the seats in Lok Sabha and state assembly for women. The reservation will come into effect based on the 1/3. Okay, census. This one 2023, the constitution bill removed these requirements. Appointment of the delimitation commission. The delimitation bill 2026 empowers the central government to consider delimitation commission to carry out delimitation. It will comprise a chairperson who is or has been a Supreme Court of Justice, the chief election commissioner or election commissioner recommended by the chief election commissioner. The state election commission states the central government will appoint the chairperson. Issue to consider: no constitutional certainty or periodic delimitation used at the last census, and relative share of states in Lok Sabha set to change. The constitution says that the allocation of seats to administrative ones will be increased based on 97. Okay, this change may lead to a significant shift in the share of this ones. And for example, if the Lok Sabha continues to have a current trend, Tamil Nadu will come down to 39 to 32, Kerala to 2015, Uttar Pradesh will increase from 80 to 89, Bihar will increase from 40 to 46, Rajasthan 25 to 30. This change in relative seats share will be maintained even if the Lok Sabha is increased since okay. Change in the size of the Rajya Sabha, increase in the size of the council of ministers, opportunities for MP to participate. So they've given entire data, right? Projected numbers of seats based on 2011 census. So Andaman and Nicobar is equals to population 380,000, okay, and seat is equals to 1. Percentage of share is equals to 0.18. Projected seat is equals to total seats change is equals to this one, decrease increase no. Percentage share is equals to, okay, their share will remain same, and projected seats is equals to this one, and total share is equals to 0.2. Seats increase by 50%, so everything will increase by 50%, right? Okay. Percentage share is equals to seats, total seats unchanged, and this one 7.73, and projected is this one, projected seats, total seats unchanged, and seats increased by this one, projection based on this one, so total seats unchanged, and to say 50%. So in that this one is given. Sikkim population 610,000, okay, a lot, okay, a lot of information. This it's little difficult. I wouldn't say it's very difficult, but yeah, a little difficult to understand the legal term, but yeah. And okay, so real life protection of women from domestic violence, okay. And second is to why should parliament matter to you? Every decision parliament makes shapes your life. Education, healthcare, employment, safety, justice, understanding of how laws are made empowers you to participate actively. Ensuring law reflects your values and concerns. Your vote, your voice, and your awareness shapes parliament sections. How can you engage with the parliament? Vote consciously in elections. To participate in public debates and movement like Anna Hazare campaign. Petitions to members of parliament directly on issues impacting your community. Stay informed about the parliamentary sessions and debates. Resources is to become a parliament watcher. To want to see how laws are made. Okay, track bills. Explain show voting records. To Sunset TV equals to Sunset TV and you see is live streaming of parliament session. Okay, Sunset TV. Just wait. Okay, Sunset TV. I think it might be in SAN Sunset TV. Okay, so Sunset TV. Does it show the parliament live? It's live, man. Is it a government? Sunset TV is okay. Sunset TV is a television parliamentary channel of India. It was created in 2021 by merging Lok Sabha television, Rajya Sabha televisions. Okay, so I might be able to see all those from here. Just wait. Okay, live is equals to Sunset. Okay, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Okay, so the parliament. Okay, you from here you can see. Okay, Sunset TV, And NIC mobile app equals to digital sunset equals to track bills on your phones, get notifications, sign up for parliament alerts, know when your issue is being debated, join online forums. Reddit equals to our Indian parliaments, Twitter equals to follow Lok Sabha, Raj Sabhas. Challenge, watch one parliament debate this month, so you'll be shocked how accessible it is. Conclusion, parliament in your hands. Anna Hazari's powerful people movement highlights parliament responsiveness to public sentiments. Your knowledge of parliament's workings gives you the power to demand accountability, transparency, and justice. Remember, parliament is ultimately a reflection of your voice, hopes, and values. By participating actively, you transform India's democracy into one where laws serve the people, not just politicians. Now, the chapter number 6, executive and judiciary explained. So now we've talked about the Lok Sabha and the Raj Sabha. They are the legislature, right? That means those who make the law. Now becomes executive, who executes those laws, and judiciary, those who will oversee the entire, if the laws are being implemented properly or not. The Vishaka case, when the Supreme Court stepped in to protect Indian women, Rajasthan, September 1992. Banwari Devi, a social worker with the women development programs in Rajasthan, was assigned a government mission to prevent child marriage in rural areas. When she tried to stop one such illegal marriage on powerful upper caste Gujjar family, she was publicly shamed and threatened. But what happened next shook the nations. On September 22, 1992, 5 men from the village gang raped Banwari Devi in front of her husband as punishments. She survived, but her ordeal had just begun. When she reported the crime, the police refused to register and fire her properly. The government hospital delayed her medical examination by hour. The trial court in Jaipur acquitted all 5 accused. Acquittal means they've released, right? Acquittal is a formal court judgment that the defendant is not guilty of the charge. Okay, acquittal, right? So acquittal. Acquitted. Okay, acquitted equals to acquittal. The government hospital delayed her remittal. The court trial in Jaipur acquitted all 5 accused in 1995. The judgment cited lack of evidence and questioned her credibility as a Dalit woman. This was not just a failure of law enforcement, it was a complete collapse of the executive machinery meant to protect her. Judiciary steps in, the Vishaka guidelines 1997, so outraged by the acquittal and the state's inactions. A group of women rights organizations, including Vishaka Women's Right Initiative and Saki, filed a public interest litigations in the Supreme Court of India. They invoked Article 14, right to equality, Article 15, prohibitions of discriminations, Article 19, 1G, right to livelihoods, Article 21, right to life and dignity. On August 30, 1997, that is after 2 years, man. The Supreme Court delivered a historic judgment, the creation of the Vishaka Guidelines, India's first legally binding framework on sexual harassment at the workplace. Since there are no law at the time protecting women from workplace harassment, the court used its constitutional powers to fill the gap left by the executives and parliament. These guidelines became the foundation for the Sexual Harassments of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013, commonly known as the POSH Act. POSH means prevention, prevention, prohibition and redressal. Okay. Why this story shows the power of judiciary. The executive failed. Banwari Devi, police, doctors, and officials did not help. The judiciary stepped in, not just her, but for every woman working in India. In the absence of a law, the Supreme Court interpreted the Constitution to create an enforceable protection, a rare but a critical example of judicial activism. Executive versus judiciary, checks and balance in real life. Institutions. Role in Banwari case, failure or success. Okay, so institution equals to executive, police are the executives, refused to act properly, so there's a failure. Hospital, executive, delayed medical examination, failure. Trial court, judiciary, acquitted equals to accused, failure. Supreme Court equals to judiciary, creating binding constitutional protection, success. Other real life examples of judiciary correcting executive failures equals to Olga Tellis versus Bombay Municipal Corporations. Pavement dwellers were evicted overnight. Supreme Court ruled right to shelter is a part of a right to life. Sheila Bursi case equals to a journalist reported abuse of women in prisons. Supreme Court took suo motu action and created prison reforms. Unnao rape case 2017-2019, the executive failed to protect the victims. The Supreme Court transferred the case to Delhi, ensuring fast-track trial and security. Why this chapter matters to you? The executive, your governments and police enforce the laws. Judiciary interprets it and often saves life within executive fails. You must know the differences because accountability begins with awareness. Judges are not gods, officers are not villains, but they are public servants, and the Constitution is the rule books that guides them. When one fails, the other must act. And you, the citizens, are the only one who can demand both to uphold your rights. The long wait for justice, Lal Bihari's struggle, 1976 to 1994. It was a warm afternoon in 1976 when Lal Bihari, a young farmer from Azamgarh, Uttar Pradesh, went to his local government for office for a simple loan. There, he discovered a shocking reality. He was officially declared dead in government records. His uncle, to usurp Lal Bihari's ancestral land, had bribed local official forging document to erase his existence. Stunned and devastated, Lal Bihari began a desperate battle not just to reclaim his land, but to reclaim his identity, his dignity, and his very right to live as recognized by the law. For 18 years long, Lal Bihari fought tirelessly, knocking on the doors of the government office, police stations, and courts, facing ridicule and indifferences. He even humorously named himself Lal Bihari Mritak, Lal Bihari the Dead Man, to highlight this plight. Finally, in 1994, the judiciary intervened after a prolonged legal battle. A judge restored Lal Bihari the legal identity, returning his rights and dignity. This astonishing, real-life story powerfully illustrates the profound importance of India's executive and judiciary, two critical pillars of the governance. It also shows vividly how ordinary citizens rely upon this institution for justice, fairness, and accountability. Understanding the executive branch enforces the laws and manages the day-to-day governance of the India. It consists of president, ceremonial heads of states, prime minister, head of the government, and a council of ministers assist in a council of ministers assist prime minister and the governor and chief minister of states. Roles simplified. President of India represents India ceremonially, signs laws, appoints judges and officials, and ensures constitutional governance. Prime minister runs the government, makes policies, implements law through the ministers, and council of ministers assists the prime minister, managing various sectors like education, health, defense, finance, agriculture. How the executive actually works a day in life. Let's say there's a crisis, deadly heat wave killed 200 people, across India. Here's how executive responds. District level, local executive. The district collector calls emergency meeting, orders hospital on alert, opens cooling water centers, and distributes water. State level, state executive. Chief minister convenes a cabinet, deploys state disaster response force, announces financial aid for victims' family, requests central assistance. National level, central executive. Prime minister chairs meeting with the health minister, home minister, disaster, finance minister, release funds. Prime minister directs the Ministry of Health, issue heat advisory. Minister of Home Affairs deploy NDRF teams. Ministry of Finance release 500 crore relief. Ministry of Environment study climate data. Ministry of Environment, okay. President's role, ceremonial expresses condolence. Ceremonial expresses condolence. Constitution sign emergency ordinance if needed. Cabinet secretariat, okay, coordinates all these ministries. Bureaucracy, IAS, IPS officer implements on grounds. This entire chain from village to parliament is the executive. When it works, lives are saved. Kerala floods 2018. When it fails, lives are lost. Odisha heat wave 2023 delayed responses. And your role, hold them accountable through RTI, media, votes, executives, power equals to the Green Revolution 1960 to 70s, leaving severe food shortage in 1960s. Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri and later Indira Gandhi initiated the Green Revolution, bold policies transforming India's agriculture through scientific research, improved seeds and technology. India rapidly increased food production, avoiding famine and becoming agriculture self-reliant. This example demonstrates how the executive proactive policies can radically transform its citizens' lives. Understanding the judiciary interprets law, safeguards fundamental rights, and ensures justice. India's judicial structure includes Supreme Court, highest judicial body, High Court, state level justice, district and lower courts, global justice, role simplified. Supreme Court, final authority on constitutional interpretations, guardian of fundamental rights. High courts handle appeal from lower courts and oversee state level legal matters. District courts, first point of justice for common disputes and criminal cases. Landmark judiciary examples. Husainara Khatun versus State of Bihar 1979. So in Bihar, a young journalist visited a prison and was horrified to find thousands of under trial prisoners under trials who had been incarcerated for years, some even longer than a maximum sentence they would have received if convicted. Oh shit, man. Many were poor, illiterates, and had no legal representations. They were essentially forgotten by the justice system. A social activist, Husainara Khatun, filed a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court on their behalf, arguing that the prolonged detention was a violation of the right to life and personal liberty, Article 21. In 1979, the Supreme Court delivered a landmark judgment and ruled that a speedy trial is an integral and essential part of a right to life and liberty guaranteed under 21 article of the Constitution. The right to free legal aid is also an inalienable component of the right to a fair trial, especially for the poor. The court ordered the immediate release of over 40,000 under trials, a decision that transformed the judicial approach to crime justice and established the right to the speedy trial as a fundamental right in India. The state cannot be permitted to deny the constitutional right of speedy trial of the accused. Husainara Khatun versus State of Bihar, Supreme Court of India. So this is a landmark judgment. Okay, this case became the foundation of the entire free legal aid movements and ensured that justice, liberty, and could not be denied merely due to poverty or procedural delays. The Supreme Court historic ruling 1979. Speedy trial is an essential part of the fundamental rights to life. Free legal aid is mandatory for poor accused. Prolonged detention without trial is unconstitutional torture. The result, over 40,000 under trials released across India. Legal Services Authorities Act 1987 passed. Free legal aid became a right, not a charity. Why this matters to you? If you or someone you know is arrested, you have right to know. Okay, this is very important, right? If you're arrested, then the police station, the police officer, right? They have to, if you're arrested under any of the crime, then you have the right to know under all the sections and all, and then you have to be, presented to the court to make a decision, and within 24 hours, you have to be presented to the court. You or if you or somebody who is arrested, you have the right to know charges within 24 hours. Okay, you have the right to know the charges, within 24 hours. You have the right to free lawyer if you cannot afford one. You have right to speedy trial. Okay, I have a right to free lawyer even if I don't have money. Yes, you have a right to speedy trials. You cannot be kept in jail indefinitely. Contract is equals to District Legal Service Authority. Free helpline equals to 15100 NALSA. This case proved because judiciary can save lives when the executive fails. Checks and balances, executive is judiciary. These two pillars aren't isolated. They operate under mutual checks and balances to protect democracy. Judicial review. Judiciary can strike down executive action if on constitution. For example, Supreme Court cancelled unfair coal allocation in 2014. Executive appointment. Judges of Supreme and High Court are appointed by the President. Ensuring accountability, public interest litigation. Judiciary allows citizen direct intervention if executive actions harm public interest. For example, PIL protecting forest, rivers, human rights. How to access the judiciary? Your step-by-step guides. Courts are for rich people. This is a lie. Here's the truth about accessing justice. The district court for most cases. Locations. Every district has one. Cost equals to court fees equals to 550 to 500 for most cases. Free legal aid equals to available for income below 1 lakh a year, and time equals to 1 to 3 years average. What it handles: property disputes, criminal cases, theft, assault, family matters, divorce, custody, consumer complaints. Level 2 equals to high courts, appeal plus constitutional matters. To location, every state has one. To cost equals to higher but free legal and aid available. Time equals to 2 to 5 years. What it handles: appeal from district courts. Okay, so writ petitions. Appeal from district courts, right? So okay, writ. What is the? How do you pronounce writ? You are right here, writ. Writ, right? Okay. A legal order to do something, not do something, by court law. Petition, that's okay. Meaning writ petition meaning. Writ petition is a legal document filed in high courts or Supreme Courts of India to enforce the fundamental rights or address legal grievance against the state, and usually following public interest litigations or personal right violations involve submitting a written petition, a synopsis, and affidavit to compel government actions to squash. Okay. Okay, and this one, and company law, tax disputes. Second is the Supreme Court, final authority, location New Delhi. Cost is to high is to 25,000 plus advocate fees plus free legal aid exist. Time equals to 5 10 is what it handles: appeal from high courts, constitutional question, dispute between states, public interest litigation, special courts, fast track, consumer courts. Okay, fast track is consumer court is for product services issues, labor court is for job disputes, family court is for divorce, and this one's Lok Adalat is to mediations, the settlement case in one day. Lok Adalat. How to file a case equals to write your complaint clearly, what happened, when it happens, who did it, what do you want, money, justice, change. Go to district level service authorities. They assess if they qualify for free legal aid. They assign a lawyer free. File a case in appropriate courts. Lawyer will guide you. Court fees can be paid for poor. Attend hearing. Bring all documents. Be patient. This takes time. Emergency file through email, post. Supreme Court equals to. Yeah, you don't need connections. You don't need money. You need documents, patience, and courage. Yeah, you need a lot of patience. You need a lot of patience. That is for sure. Because it will take time. Why does understanding this institution matters to you? Every day, life, education, healthcare, employment, safety depends significantly on how effective the executive manages policies and how fairly judiciary, dispenses justice. Knowledge empowers you to demand accountability, transparency, and justice from both branches. When you understand their role clearly, you transform from passive observer to active citizens, equipped to defend your rights and hold the government accountable. Conclusion: guardian of injustice and democracy. The prolonged struggle of Lal Bihari and Banwari Devi vividly demonstrate the profound role of the executive and judiciary. Their stories aren't isolated incidents; they symbolize the verity, everyday struggles and hope of millions of ordinary citizens seeking justice and fairness. By understanding this institution, you realize the profound impact on your daily life. With this knowledge, you can confidently engage questions and participate actively in ensuring India remains a vibrant democracy built on justice, fairness, and equality. Chapter number 7: understanding the states and the center's relations. Okay, so now we'll talk about what are the relationship in the state and center, and what are the impacts, because some state and centers, they have the same government, some they don't have. I think if you have the same government in state and center, then it'll be more benefit, because right now if you see Gujarat, a lot of investments from the central government also, because they have the same BJP, and even in UP, Uttar Pradesh, a lot of investments are happening. Understanding, okay, the states and the center's roles, relations. When two states fought over a river, yeah, I know that, the river conflict. When two states fought, I think it was Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, if I'm not wrong. Karnataka and Tamil, yes, exactly. When two states fought over a river, the Kaveri river water disputes, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, July to October 2016, in the scorching summer of 2016, Meteor Dam in Tamil Nadu reached dangerously low levels. Farmers in Tanjavur, known as the rice ball of Tamil Nadu, were unable to grow their crops. irrigation canals ran dry. The state government urgently demanded that the Karnataka release water from the Kaveri River, which originates in Kodagu and flows down to the Tamil Nadu. Okay, I want to see what is Kodagu. Is there a place name? Kadugu. Kadugu is a tag-along term meaning of the same blood kin flow. It is commonly, it's a place, right? Is it a place? Kodagu and okay, which origin? Kodagu. Kodagu, okay. Bring together chat file. Okay, is it a place? Okay, so it's a place, right? Kodagu is it's a district in India. It is a district in Karnataka. Kodagu. Okay, so this is where the water comes, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so release water from the Kaveri rivers, which originated in Kodagu and flows down to Tamil Nadu. But Karnataka was also facing drought. It had received 35% less rainfall than monsoon that monsoon seasons, and reservoirs like the Krishna Raja Sagar were drying up. Farmers in Mandya and Mysuru district were already staggering. Some protestants, saying they couldn't afford to release even a drop. What followed was one of the most heated, center and state interstate dispute in recent history. It's going to be a big problem because Karnataka, they have a different governments. Tamil Nadu, different governments. Okay, clashes on the grounds. Okay. What followed was one of the most heated centers in this one. So on September 5th, 2016, the Supreme Court of India ordered Karnataka to release 15,000 cusecs of water per day to Tamil Nadu for 10 days. Karnataka refused, citing inability. Violent protests broke out in Bengaluru, Mysuru, and Mandya. Buses from Tamil Nadu were burned. Mobs vandalized property. On September 12th, the Supreme Court issued a reprimand, and Karnataka reluctantly. Okay, reprimand means I know this all words, but I want to know the exact meaning, man. Reprimand. I can't afford to make any error. Tell somebody officially that they have done something wrong. Okay, reprimand, right? Okay, severe reprimand. Okay, what does it mean to reprimand someone? That means it's like a criticizing, right? Contempt. I strongly criticized. Okay, I strongly contempt. Okay, contempt. Yeah, a severe or a formal criticism, reprimands. Okay, to criticize person severely, especially from a position of authority. Okay, reprimand from a position of authority. Okay. The Supreme Court issued a reprimand, and Karnataka reluctantly complied, reducing the amount to 12,000 cusecs. But the conflict deepened. On September 20, the Karnataka Legislative Assembly passed a resolution that directly challenged the Supreme Court's order, stating that water could only be released if sufficient was available for Karnataka's own need. The constitutional tensions, federalism tested. This dispute wasn't just about water; it was about state autonomy. Karnataka asserted its right over its natural resources. Judicial supremacy, Supreme Court's authority was being ignored. Center's responsibility. The center government was criticized for inactions and delay in setting up the Kaveri Management Board, despite Supreme Court orders. Under the Indian Constitution, water is a state subject. Okay, so now there comes the problem, because if the water is a state subject, then obviously center can't do much. Under the Indian Constitutions, water is a state subject, entry 17 state list. But interstate river fall under a center's purview, entry is union list. Okay, so there's a state list and union list. Okay, so interstate rivers fall under center's purview. Article 262 provides for interstate river disputes resolution through tribunals. Article 256 mandates that states comply with the laws made by the parliament and direction from the centers or judiciary. The Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal, set up in 1990s, had given its award in 2007, but no permanent enforcement mechanism existed, leading to chaos. Resolution and outcome. After decades of legal wrangling and public unrest, in February 16, 2018, the Supreme Court delivered its final verdict, reducing Tamil Nadu's share slightly and ordering the centers to set up a Kaveri Water Management Authority within 6 weeks. The Kaveri Water Management Authority officially constituted in June 2018 and becoming a landmark in center-state cooperation and federalism dispute resolution. Why this story explains center-state resolution perfectly? It shows how federal conflict can affect everyday lives, from crops to drinking water. It demonstrates the role of judiciary in balancing power. It highlights the center's constitutional responsibility to mediate between the states. Other examples of center-state tensions. Okay, other examples of a center and state tensions. Farm law protest. Yeah, I was actively, because in Delhi I saw farmers protesting. Farm laws protest 2021. Punjab and Haryana resisted central laws on agriculture as state subject. Agriculture is also state subjects, leading to a massive protest and eventual repeal. COVID-19 vaccine distribution 2021. State demanded autonomy in procurements, but inconsistency led to centers to centralize the process again. Delhi was a center. GNCTD Act conflict between Delhi government elected and the center over control of bureaucracy leading to constitutional crisis. Why you must understand this? As a citizen, you must know when to question your state government. Oh yeah, that is the main problem with most of the people in India, is that they don't know who to question. For example, if the local street, the local road in Bengaluru right now, the Whitefield, it's not good, right? And if I ask anyone, they'll be like, Modi ye nahi karta hai, Modi wo nahi karta hai, and all those things. But frankly speaking, that's not the central government's job. That's not that doesn't come within the purview of the central government. This is the state related issues. It has to be done by the Karnataka state. That means it's the Congress government. It is their job, right? Their job, specifically their municipalities, this municipality, they have to be, so Bengaluru. So that's why the mayor of the Bengaluru, it's their job. And it was indirectly elected by the the Congress party because of the Karnataka. So that's why most of the people, they don't know who to question. Why you must understand is because as a citizen, you must know when to question your state government, when to expect action from the center, how power is shared and often contested in a democracy. Because rivers don't care about borders, pandemics don't follow state laws, and the constitution exists not to divide but to coordinate and protect. India's federal structure, one nation, many voices. India is a quasi federal country. This means that while it has a strong central government, like a unitary system, it also gives a significant power to states like the federal system. What does the constitution say? Article 1, India is described as a union of states. It's a union of states. This reflects the belief that the country is one united entity but made up of many individual, semi-autonomous states. Division of power, the three list. Okay, so yeah, we do have a union list, and a union list and union list, state list, and a concurrent list. Union list, state list, and concurrent list. Okay, so the power distribution in India is, so union list, all the powers. Division of powers, the three list is to 7 schedules. To prevent confusion and ensure smooth functioning, the constitution divides the responsibilities between center and a state to the 3 list. Union list, central government powers equals to example, defense, foreign affairs, currency, railways. Only the center can make laws. State list and state government powers equals to example, police. Okay, so police is a state matter. State list equals to state matter equals to example, police, public health, agriculture, state roads. Yeah, state roads. So state have exclusive law making power here. Concurrent list equals to shared powers. Example, education, forest, marriage, bankruptcy. Both the center and state can make laws, but if there is a conflict, central law prevails. Okay, so the power are distributed in a constitution in a state. First equals to there is a union list and state list. Okay, union list, state list, and a concurrent list. GST implementation 2017. For decades, business faced a nightmare of different taxes in every state. Then came the goods and services tax, a historic reform that required complete cooperation between the central and the state through months of meeting, discussions, and negotiation in the GST Council and members of State Finance Minister and the Union Finance Minister. India replaced dozens of taxes with one simplified national tax. This was the federalism in actions, where both centers and state work together for economic harmony. What happened in the disagreements? Disagreement between the center and the state do happen, especially on resource allocation, loss, and revenue. Mechanism for resolution: Interstate Council, Article 260, facilitates dialogue and coordination. Supreme Court act as a neutral, empire. Finance Commission ensures fair distribution of financial resources. Tribunal handles specific dispute like water sharing. Emergency provisions: when center gets stronger. In situation of a national threat or a state failure, the constitution allows the centers to resume more control. National emergency, Article 253, war or external aggressions. I think in Manipur there was a president rule recently. And yeah, national emergency during war or external aggressions and president rules, Article 356, state government fails to function. Financial emergency, economic instability, Article 360. These powers are meant to be used sparingly and only when absolutely necessary. Misuse of these provisions can undermine democracy. SR Bomai versus Union of India 1994. In 1989, the Karnataka government was dismissed by the centre, claiming it had lost its majority support. The case reached the Supreme Court, and in a historic judgment in 1994, this court ruled that the president's rule cannot be imposed arbitrarily. The decision strengthened federalism and limited the centre's powers to resolve the state. Again, this case is now cornerstone of Indian democracy, protecting state from unjust interference. Cooperative federalism, the ideal vision. The Indian constitution does not encourage rivalry between state and centers. It encourages cooperation. The success of national mission like Digital India, Swachh Bharat, COVID-19 vaccination drive depends entirely on center-state teamwork. When the center respects states' voices and state aligns with the national goals, governance becomes efficient, inclusive, and impactful. India's flexible governance system. India is a system of government that shares powers between the central union government and the state government. This is called a federalism. It's a union of states. Okay, in normal times, power is divided. States handle their own issues and make their own laws. The center and the state work as an equal partner. In time of a crisis, water emergency, the state becomes more centralized. Center takes more powers and the state follows the central leads to ensure the country stays strong and united. This flexibility is a key because Indian system can change between being federal, power is divided, and unitary is power centralized. The expert call is a quasi federal, meaning it's a partially federal. It's not strictly like the US purely federal or the UK purely centralized. Okay, UK is purely federal. I didn't. Okay, not strictly like the US purely federal or it's a federal. That's a federalized federal states, and the UK is goes to purely centralized. India's system is strong because it can adapt to different needs without breaking balance the need for unity and diversity. So your problem solving chart, state or center. Okay, so this is very important thing, right? Your problem solving chart, center or state. Issue. If issue is related to potholes on roads, contact is equals to state PW, public works distribution, if I'm not municipalities, and y is equals to road is equals to state subject. So all the I have to understand this properly. All the road potholes and all the state subjects. Potholes on roads equals to state, PWD equals to municipality, roads equals to state subjects, and missing Aadhaar card equals to UIDA equals to it's a center, identity equals to it's a central, ration card issues equals to state. Okay, ration card equals to it's the state food and civil supplies, implementation equals to state, passport problem, Minister of External Affairs, center, foreign affairs equals to central, fake university equals to UGC equals to centers, higher education standards, school teacher is equals to absent equals to state, department is equals to school, education equals to state, GST notice equals to GST council, both state and concurrent, police didn't file FIR equals to state, police equals to SP police, police equals to state subject, if no help equals to state, human right commission equals to state first, still no help equals to National Human Rights Commission then center, railway reservation equals to IRTCTC equals to IRCTC equals to centers, railway equals to central, agriculture price issues equals to state, department equals to state, minimum support price equals to centers, and procurement equals to central. Conclusion, a shared responsibility. The story of Ramaswamy and Basavaraj, two farmers in two state fighting over the same river, reminds us of the immense importance of states center harmony. Our constitution was crafted with the foresight to manage these differences, so not with the conflict, but through cooperation, legal mechanisms, and a mutual respect. As a citizen, understanding the center-state relation helps you beyond local politics. It helps you appreciate the national fabric stitched together by the law, balance power, and together help with a shared destiny.
Chapter number 8, Constitutional Amendments, How and Why India's Laws Change. So, Constitutional Amendments to Emergency, Part number 1. The 42nd Amendments, when the Constitution was almost hijacked, India, June 25, 1975 to March 21st, 1977, at midnight on June 25th, 1975, India changed without a single shot fired. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Okay, so that happened in 1975 to 77, 2 years. So yeah, June is equals to 76, 77. Yeah. So close to 1 year and 10 months. 1975 to 7. Okay, 1975 to 77. Okay, so at midnight on June 25, 1975, India changed without a single shot fired. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had just declared a national emergency, citing internal disturbance. Civil liberties were suspended. The press was, gagged. Political opponents were jailed by the thousands. But behind the arrest and fears, something deeper and more dangerous was happening. The government was preparing to amend the constitution itself in a way that would make absolute power legal. The amendment that shook the constitution. In November 1976, during the peak of emergency, Parliament passed the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, often called the mini constitutions. What it changed? Article 368 gave Parliament unchecked power to amend the constitutions, even parts protecting the fundamental rights. Article 31C allowed any law based on directive principle to override fundamental rights like the freedom of speech or equality. Preamble added the word socialist and secular to India's identity. Preamble added the word socialist and secular to India's identity. Judicial review greatly limited the power of the Supreme Court to strike down unconstitutional laws. The Lok Sabha passed it with barely any debates. To the Rajya Sabha, followed by the President Fakhruddin Ali, Ahmed signed into law without public discussion, consultations, or referendum. It was the most sweeping constitutional amendment in Indian history. Why it was dangerous? The 42nd Amendment now turned the Constitution from a protector of the people into a tool of government control. It attempted to erase the basic structure doctrine which had laid down in the Kesavananda Bharatiya case 1973. For the first time in India's post-independent history, Parliament tried to make itself more powerful than the constitutions. Democracy fights back. The 44th Amendments to 1978. When the emergency was lifted in 1977, the people spoke through the ballot. Indira Gandhi was voted out. The Janata Party under Morarji Desai came to power within
A year Parliament passed the 44th Constitution Amendment Act. What it did, restored Article 21, right to right to life and right to life and liberty as non-suspendable even during emergency. Rolled back many changes made by the 42nd Amendments. Re-empowered the judiciary. Reaffirmed the basic structure doctrine as untouchable. Why this story matters in a chapters on amendments? Because it shows that amendments can be used to strengthen democracy or destroy it. Knowing how the constitution can be changed is crucial to being responsible citizens. Amendments are not technical matters, they are tools of power. Every Indian has the right and a duty to watch the watchman. Every Indian has the right and duty to watch the watchman. Other major amendments that change India is to First Amendment, 1951, curbed free speech to protect public border, allowed reservation in education, triggered by judicial verdict that blocked government policies. 73rd and 74th Amendments, 1992, empowered panchayat and municipalities, bringing democracy to the grassroots. 101st Amendment to 2016 introduced GST, simplifying India's complex tax system. 103rd Amendment 2019 was to provide a 10% EWS reservation in education and jobs. First time reservation was given on economic basis. Why you must understand amendments? Because when Parliament amend the constitution, they are changing the rules of the game, sometimes for good, sometimes not. And by understanding the amendment process under Article 368, you will know what kind of a majority is needed, when state approved is required, what limits Parliament cannot cross, and you will know when to raise your voice. The constitution that could evolve the story of the 42nd Amendment 1976. It was the height of emergency, India's darkest chapter in democratic history. The year was 1976. Citizens lived under censorship, opposition leaders were jailed, and civil liberties had vanished overnight. Then came the 42nd Amendment of the Constitution, the most sweeping and controversial amendment ever introduced, pushed by the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's government. This amendment drastically changed the face of the Constitution. It limited judicial review, gave Parliament unchecked power, curbed for fundamental rights, and inserted new famous or infamous words in the preamble: socialist and secular. The amendment was passed swiftly with a little debates and without real consultation. But once emergency was lifted in 1977, a new government took charge and reversed many of those changes through the 44th Amendments, restoring the balance of power between judiciary, executive, and legislative. This dramatic episode shows one key truth: the Indian Constitution is a living document. It breathes, it bends, and when pushed too far, it bounces back. It can change, but not without scrutiny, debate, and consequence. Why does the Constitution need to change? When the Constitution was adopted in 1950s, India was newly independent, largely rural, and deeply unequal. And today, India is a global player, home to space missions, tech startups, and a booming population of over 1.4 billion. To stay relevant, just and effective, constitution must adapt to social changes, that is reservation for economically weaker sections, technological changes, that is right to privacy in a digital age, economic reforms, judicial interpretations, public demand. So far, over 100 amendments have been made, some small, some seismic. How is this constitution amended? Article 368. There are three types of amendments. So I want to know this one, right? Because I know a lot of amendments, but yeah, this is very important. There are three types of amendments, each requiring a different level of consequences. In a consensus, simple majority, routine changes to pass by a majority of members present and voting. Okay, so there you just need a simple majority. Example: reorganizing state like Telangana carved from Andhra Pradesh in 2014. Simple majority, okay, and then you need special majority, passed by 2/3 of members present. And then you need passed by this one special majority. So simple majority 50%, and then passed by the 2/3 of members. So 2/3 means you need at least 66.66 members, and voting plus a majority of the total memberships. Okay, and we use for major changes like fundamental rights or directive principles. Special majority plus state ratifications requires approval by at least half the state legislature. Used for changes affecting federal structure, that is powers of president, high court, or center-state relations. Landmark amendment that changed India is to First Amendment 1951. Curbed freedom of speech to prevent misuse. Allowed reservation in education and jobs. Why? To protect new laws helping backward classes which were struck by the courts. The 42nd Amendments 1976, known as the mini constitutions, title power heavily in favor of centers, limited judiciary. Criticism considered authoritarian and rushed. The 44th Amendments, 1978, restored the balance post-emergency, made it harder to suspend fundamental rights, protect life and liberty, Article 21 more strongly. The 86th Amendment, 2002, is to make right to education, so fundamental right for children aged 6 to 14. When such amendment go too far, the basic structure doctrine, in 1973, the landmark Kesavananda Bharati case tested how far Parliament could go. The Supreme Court ruled Parliament can amend the Constitution but cannot destroy its basic structure. So what is the basic structure? It's the foundation the invisible backbone that keeps our democracy alive and fair, rule of law, democracy, judicial review, separation of power, fundamental rights. The judgment shaped Indian democracy, no amendment, no matter how powerful, can destroy its soul. The basic structure is like the heartbeat of the constitution, unseen but essential. Parliament may build upon it, strengthen it, modify its limb, but it cannot touch the heart. So the basic structure, constitution, unbearable souls. Now, imagine you own a house, you can repaint walls, change furniture, add a room, renovate kitchens, but you cannot remove the foundation, destroy the load-bearing walls. But they cut the main support beams. Why? Because then it's not a house anymore. It's a collapse. The basic structure is the Constitution's foundation. Parliament can amend 99% of the Constitution, but it cannot destroy its core identity. What is the basic structure? The Supreme Court has never given an exhaustive list, but these are confirmed. First equals to sovereignty. India is independent, not controlled by foreign powers. Sovereignty. Democracy. People elect the government, not kings or dictators. Republican natures. No hereditary ruler. Head of a state is elected. Secularism, state doesn't favor any religion. Federalism, power share between state and center. Okay, so that is the main the definition of a federalism. Federalism is to federal system equals to the power is distributed between state and center. State doesn't, okay, this one, no hereditary equals to secularism. Okay, power share between state and center. Separation of power, legislature, judicial, executive, judicial independence. Judicial review, courts can strike down unconstitutional law. Okay, judicial review, courts can strike down unconstitutional laws. Fundamental rights, core rights cannot be destroyed, cannot be reasonably restricted, but not eliminated. Can be reasonably restricted, but cannot be eliminated. Rule of law, everyone, including government, is under law. Independence of judiciary, court cannot be controlled by the government. After this judgment, government cannot, abolish democracy through amendments, cannot make India a religious state, cannot eliminate judicial review, cannot destroy federalism, cannot remove fundamental right entirely. Government can amend specific articles, can add new rights, can modify procedures, can adopt constitution to changing times. Example allowed. Lowering voting age from 21 to 18, 1988. Adding right to education 2002. Introducing GST 2016. And not allowed is equals to amendment saying no more elections. Amendment saying India is now a Hindu Rashtra. Amendment saying Supreme Court has no power. The basic structure doctrine is why India remains a democracy even when government try to grab power. It's the constitution immune system. And you as a citizen can invoke it in court if any amendment violates it. Real life impact is equals to section 377 and LGBTQ plus rights. So not a constitutional amendment, this shows constitutional evolution and action. In 2018, the Supreme Court struck down section 377 criminalizing same-sex relationship. Okay, what? In 2018, the Supreme Court struck down section 377 criminalizing same-sex relationship. That means you can have a same-sex relations. Okay, it cited fundamental right to dignity, equality, and privacy. This was made possible because past amendments had strengthened the interpretation of these rights. Why this matters to you? Every time the constitution is amended, your life changes, sometimes quietly, sometimes dramatically. Your taxes, your rights, your governance, your protection under the law, all are directly shaped by the amendments. Knowing how amendment works means you can demand stronger right. You can resist unconstitutional overreach. You can understand the pulse of the democracy itself. Conclusion: the constitution grows with you. India's constitution isn't carved in stone. Yeah, so that's a very important thing, right? The India's constitution isn't carved in a stone. It evolves with the people, but its soul remains untouchable. Just like your life changes over the time, so must the law that governs you. The key is to ensure that every change strengthens justice, fairness, and democracy. With awareness and vigilance, you become the constitution guardian, ensuring that every amendment serves not power, serves not power but people. Now, chapter number 9, emergency provisions and their implications. Emergency part 2 is equals to democracy silenced. The story of 21 months, 21 months emergency. Delhi is equals to June 25, 1975, 11 p.m. It began, with the knock at midnight. Arun Jaitley, a 22-year-old student leader at Delhi University, was pulled from his bed by a plainclothes police. No warrant, no explanations. Arun Jaitley, okay, I want to see his face, man. Arun Jaitley, okay, former Arun Jaitley, attorney and former Minister of Corporate Affairs. So he is dead, man. 66. By sunrise, he was in Tihar jail. By the end of the week, he had company over 100,000 opposition leaders, activists, students, and journalists, all arrested without a charge. No crime, no trail, no bail, just silence. The same Arun Jaitley would go on to become one of India's finest lawyers, a Minister of Finance, and a defender of constitutional rights. But born on 1975, he was just one of thousands who woke up to discover that democracy had been suspended overnight. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had declared a national emergency under Article 3 352 of the Constitution, citing internal disturbance. The real trigger: 2 weeks earlier, the Allahabad court had found her guilty of electoral fraud and disqualified her from parliament. Instead of resigning, she suspended the constitution. What followed was the India's darkest constitutional hour. What emergency looked like in real life: activists like Jay Prakash Narayan, George Fernandez, and Atal Bihari Vajpayee were jailed under the Maintenance of Internal Security Act. Sterilization, okay, yeah, this is I've heard. Sterilization drive led by Indra, Sanjay Gandhi, targeted over 6 million men, mostly poor, under coercions and false promises. Slum demolitions in Delhi rendered thousands homeless overnight. Even the Supreme Court failed in the infamous ADM Jalpaipur and Shivkant Shukla case. The court ruled that even the right of life, Article 21, could be suspended during emergency. Justice H.R. Khanna, the long dissenter, wrote, "Life and liberty are not gift from the state, but birthright of every human being." He was punished. He was the senior most judge, yet was bypassed for Chief Justice by Justice A.N. Ray, judge lower in a seniority to him, just for upholding the constitutions. How emergency provision works can be misused. Under Article 352, the President can declare emergency upon cabinet advice when the security of India is threatened by war, external aggressions, or armed rebellion, earlier internal disturbance. During emergency, fundamental rights under Article 19 are suspended, but Parliament gains power to legislate on state subjects. The centers can control state machinery and budgets, and freedom of speech, protest, and express vanishes. Democracy, restored. The people fight back. When the emergency ended in 1977, election were announced. In a shocking upset, the Janata Party won, and Indira Gandhi lost her own seat in Rae-Bareli. The new government passed the 4th Amendment Bill 1978 to replace internal disturbance with the armed rebellions. To protect Article 21 right to life from suspension, require written advice from the entire cabinet, not just the PM, before declaring emergency. Ensure Parliament approval within 1 month of the declarations. These changes were made because of the horror citizen endured when the law was used for when the law was not used for protection but oppressions. Why this chapter is critical? Emergency provisions are like a fire alarms meant only for crisis, but in 1975 they were used to burn down the house. Understanding this provision ensures that you recognize when democracy is under threat. You know who has the power and who is misusing it. You can demand accountability and prevent history from repeating itself. Other emergency-related events to COVID-19 2020. While no official emergency was declared, power under Epidemic Disease Act and Disaster Management Act enabled control, sparking debates on constitutional overreach. Jammu and Kashmir, Article 370, abrogations and state recognition. Just wait, okay, I want to see. Indira Gandhi, his Firoz Gandhi, and his son, right? I think children equals to Rajiv Gandhi. Okay, so Rajiv Gandhi is and I want to know Sanjay Gandhi, what happened to him? Sanjay Gandhi, former Lok Sabha, Indian politician. He died, okay, very young, 33. I think he had a airplane accident or something, okay? And Jammu and Kashmir, 2019, Article 370 abrogations and state reorganization led to restrictions on civil liberties, raising concerns on federal rights and judicial silence. I think this is one of the best decisions, abrogation of Article 370. Emergency provisions, what they are and when they apply. The Constitution of India provides for 3 types of emergencies outlined in Article 352, 356, and 360. Let's break them down simply. National Emergency, Article 352, when war, external aggressions, or armed rebellion. Who declares? President on advice of the cabinet. What happens? The central government can take full control of the states. Parliament can make laws on subject in the states list. And fundamental rights under Article 19 are automatically suspended. President rule equals to Article 356. When a state government fails to function according to constitution, president rules, okay? I think it's on that specific state. A state government fails to function according to constitutional provisions. Who declares? It's president based on the governor's report. What happens? The state assembly is dissolved or suspended. President Y center takes direct control of the states. Financial emergency, Article 360, when the financial stability or credit of India is threatened. Who declares? President based on the financial crisis. What happens? Salaries of the government officials can be reduced. All financial decisions shift to the centers. State budget can be overruled. Has this rule ever been used? Because to know, India has faced economic crisis 1991. Yes, 1991, India has faced a significant crisis, and that because of this crisis. So if you want a significant reform, then you need to go down significantly, in a sense that time 1991 entire foreign reserves were, I think, not even a 9 crore rupees were there, right? So that's why they had to come up with the big reform, economic reform. So that's why we have this one, I think it's called NIP, right? Okay, it's called liberalization, liberalization, privatization, and just wait, okay, 1990 economic economic reforms. What shifted equals to LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalizations. And during 1990s, how much foreign reserves were there? I think 9 crore, if I'm not wrong, if my memory serves correctly. During 1990s, India's foreign exchange reserve were exceptionally low, falling to a critical level of approximately 1 point this month. Okay, by the end of December, according to this month. Okay, import cover, the reserve were only sufficient to cover about 4.8 weeks or roughly a month of import by 1990s. Okay, what was foreign exchange reserve 1990s? Okay, so 585 million. That'll only last for, okay, so 4.8 weeks. That means class 5, 7 5 is 35. So it's 35 days, close to a month. Okay. And financial emergency, no. India has faced economic crisis, but Article 360 has never been invoked. The hidden cost of emergency, a personal story. Ramnath Goenka, a founder of the Indian Express, stood almost alone in resisting Indira Gandhi's censorship despite threat and power cuts. His team printed copies of the Indian Express with a blank editorial pages, powerful silent protest. Each blank, page told readers that the truth was being silenced. It became a national symbol of resistance. In a tiny village in Uttar Pradesh, 19-year-old student Rajendra Yadav was arrested for disturbing, leaflets demanding restoration of democracy. He was jailed for 8 months without trial. A decade later, he would become a lawyer and author. His life forever shaped with the memory of being silenced. Lessons from the emergency. The emergency period revealed how constitutional rules meant for safety could be twisted into tools of suppression, how judicial independence was compromised, how citizens' awareness is the strongest protection of democracy. Post-emergency reform, guardrails added equals to 44th Amendment 1978 limited the power to declare emergency. Internal disturbance was replaced with the armed rebellion. Article 21, right to liberty and cannot be suspended even during emergency. The president can now declare an emergency only based on written advice by the full council of ministers, cabinet, not just the PM. These changes were vital. They made sure no one person could hijack democracy again. Why this matters to you? Emergency provisions are necessary, safeguard for times of genuine crisis, but they are double-edged swords. Understanding them helps you recognize when your rights are under threat, demand accountability from elected, leaders, teach others that freedom once lost is not easily regained. Conclusion: eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Emergency was wake-up call. It taught us that no matter how beautiful a constitution are written, it is ultimately guarded by the courage of its citizen, the integrity of its institution, and the power of collective awareness. As a citizen, your silence can enable tyranny, but your awareness, voice, and participations can defend democracy even in its darkest hour. Okay, and now is equals to chapter number 10. Elections, how your vote shapes the constitution. The man who voted first, Sham Saran Negi, and the British and the birth of Indian democracy. Oh, he was the first one, Sham Saran Negi. Kalpa, Himachal Pradesh, October 25, 1951. At the age of 33, a school teacher named Sham Saran Negi, dressed in a white dhoti and walked uphill in the early morning first to cast the first vote of independent India's first general elections. Yes, the very first vote. India's first election was scheduled for February 1952, but in a snowbound Himachal Pradesh, weather conditions would make them impossible, so voting was conducted early. Negi walked into a tiny wooden booth in Kalpa village, surrounded by the pine forest and icy winds. There was no microphones, no media, no fanfare. But there was a hope. This is not just a vote, he later said. It's a voice in my future. Negi continued to vote in every single election, Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha, until his death in November 2022 at the age of 106. He cast his final vote just 3 days before he passed away, with the Election Commission official bringing a postal ballot to his home in honor of his lifelong commitment. What makes this story extraordinary? Negi never missed an election, not during wars, floods, illness, or old age. He became a symbol of democratic dedications in a nation where voter turnout in urban areas is often below 60%. The Election Commission of India honored him as a national icon in 2014. His life asked every Indian a simple but powerful question. It's if a 106-year-old can walk to a vote in a snow, what's stopping you? The Constitution and election, the core links. Under the Constitution, Article 324 creates the Election Commission as an independent body. Okay, so Election Commission is an independent body, okay. Article 326 gives every citizens over 18 the right to vote under universal adult suffrage. The Representations of the People Acts 1950s and 1951 define who cannot, who can contest, how votes are counted, and when disqualification apply. Just wait, okay. A person with unsound mind, okay. Person with unsound mind, can they give vote? Not exactly sure. Just wait, list of announcements. A person shall be disqualified in general laws if he is not a citizen of India, is of unsound mind and stands okay. So yeah, cannot give a vote. And vote isn't just right, it's a constitutional duty, a silent revolution, and you must, your most powerful expression of a citizen's. Example of votes that change history goes to Rajasthan Assembly election, Ramgarh. Margin of victory, margin of victory goes to 1 vote. Total votes cast goes to over 2 lakh. The loser challenged the result, but the court upheld it. 1 vote was enough. India's general election 1977. After the emergency votes, voters overthrew Indira Gandhi, proving that no one is above the constitution. Nota is to none of the above. In multiple constituencies since 2018, Nota votes have exceeded the victory margin, sending a strong message about the voters' dissatisfactions. What happens when you don't vote? You let others choose your future. You surrender your say in education, job, health, safety, and justice. You weaken democracy by normalizing apathy. Democracy doesn't die in explosion; it dies in silence. Why this chapter is your call to actions? You have now read about fundamental rights, duties, parliament, judiciary, amendments, emergency provisions, but none of them work if you don't vote, because your vote writes the constitutions forward. Your MP, your MLA, your panchayat members all derive legitimacy from your finger mark on the ballot. If the constitution doesn't choose your leader, you do. Why election matters? The Indian constitution gives you the power to choose your representatives through universal adult suffrage, the one person, one vote. Voting is the heartbeat of a democracy. It's how laws are made, how governments are formed, and how policies that affect your educations, job, safety, justice system come into being. Without your vote, the constitution becomes just paper. With it is the force that governs the future. The election process, simple breakdowns. Constitutional provisions on elections. Article 324 established the election commissions of India to conduct free and fair elections. Article 325, 329 is to lay down rules for electoral roles, eligibility and disqualification. Representation of the People Act 1951 defined detailed electoral procedures and rules. Real life examples, Nota equals the right to reject is equals to, in 2013, after public pressures and Supreme Court ruling, the Election Commission added Nota, none of the above, to voting machines. So now voters can reject all the candidates if they find none suitable. Though it doesn't cancel the election, it sends a strong message. In 2018, in some booth in Madhya Pradesh, Nota received more votes than any candidates. A silent yet powerful protest. Power of collective votes. Voting. Example: Vellore. Local election equals to over rupee 10 crore in cash was seized in Vellore, Tamil Nadu, leading to cancellation of election due to vote buying. Citizen had reported the corruption. This marked a historic first. A parliamentary election cancelled due to public outreach and vigilance. Democracy doesn't end at the ballot box; it starts here. Do vote really matters? Absolutely. Consider this shocking margin. In 2009, in Haryana, one candidate lost by 2 votes after 1 lakh were cast. In 2014 Lok Sabha, in many votes, victory margins were under 1,000 votes. Your vote could literally decide who writes the next chapters of India's future. Elections aren't just for MPs and MLA; they are for local panchayats, municipal corporations, student unions, resident welfare association. Every vote matters, whether you're deciding on national defense or a street light on your colony. Challenge in Indian elections: money, power, and vote buying, caste and religious-based politics, fake news and propaganda, low urban voter turnouts. Often the most educated don't vote. Yeah, that's the main thing, right? If the most educated one don't vote, then. But every citizen rise above this and votes responsible. Democracy grows stronger. How can you be an active voter? Register and help others register. Verify your name in a voter list. Attend debates and read manifestos. Question your MLA MPs. Report violation to the election commission if there's any. Conclusions. You hold the pen that writes history. Sham Naram Negi showed us that single vote is powerful, that democracy only thrives when its people participate, question, vote, and watch. Every 5 years or sooner, the constitution places its trust on you, not in a politician, not in a party, but in you. When you vote, you don't just pick a leader, you shape your nation's law, values, and future. Conclusion: the constitution in your hands. On a cold morning in October 2019, 81-year-old Bilkis Bano, later known as one of the Shaheen Bagh Dadis, sat under a tent near Kalindi Kunj, Delhi, holding a copy of the Constitution of India in her hands. She was not a lawyer. She had never been to school. She couldn't read the books she was holding. But she knew its value. She had seen what injustice looked like. And when the CAA, right, Citizenship Amendment Act, was passed, she chose not silence but peaceful resistance. She sat for over 100 days in a protest, day and night, through fighting winter Delhi's in a space filled with women, children, rising sense of constitutional awareness. In 2020, Time magazine, CAA stands for Citizen Amendment Act. Okay, Citizenship Amendment Act equals to 2020. Time magazine named her among the 100 most influential people in the world. Why? Because Bilkis Bano embodied the constitution with not with speeches but with the presence. She reminded India that our constitution doesn't belong to judges or ministers alone. It belongs to every citizen who believe in justice, equality, and dignity. So this is what the book is about. Why this book was written? You didn't pick this book up to memorize articles or pass an exam. You picked it up because you wanted to understand why the law matters, how it protects you, how it empowers you, how your action can shape the India of tomorrow. And if you have read till here, you have already have something powerful that many don't. That is awareness. Now, what you have learned is equals to, over the last 3 years, 3 hours, you have explored the birth of the Constitution through the Ambedkar's visions, fundamental rights, duties, fundamental amendments. But most of all, you have understood this Constitution isn't a document of power; it's a document of protections, and you are its protector. The Constitution is not perfect, but it's alive. India is messy, chaotic, beautiful, broken, and full of contradictions. So, is its democracy? Yeah, so is its democracy. But that's why the Constitution exists, not to serve a perfect society, but to guide a struggling one. Okay, that's a beautiful line, right? Constitution exists not to serve a perfect society, but to guide a struggling one. It holds our hands, and as we try, fail and rise again. It evolves, it reforms, but it listens. But only if we demand that it does. Next step equals to be the Constitution equals to. Your next step, be the Constitution. Help someone understand their rights. Report a wrong. Don't stay silenced. And vote and help others register. Read the preamble once a month. Loudly mean it. Call out injustice even if it's inconvenient. Okay, this is I'm pledging, right? I'm making a promise to myself that whenever something wrong I see, till now I used to keep quiet most of the time, but I will not keep quiet. I will raise my voice, because staying silent is also, staying silent when it is your job is also like you're not doing your job. So yeah, read the preamble once a month. Okay, call out justice even if it's inconvenient. Okay, I'll do that, I promise. Change doesn't begin in parliament, it begins in your choice. Final words from Ambedkar to you. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar once said, however good a constitution may be, it is sure to turn out bad if those who are called to work it happens to be a bad lot. I repeat, however good a constitution may be, it is sure to turn out bad if those who are called to work it happen to be a bad lot. He was speaking to us, not just to politicians or judges, but to you and me. Today, you're no longer a bystander. You're a citizen armed with understanding. Use it, live it, and pass it on. Because the most powerful sentence in the entire Constitution is not written in the preamble or Article 21 or Schedule 7. It's written in invisible ink between the lines of every article. This Constitution is yours, protect it. It was a lovely book about, I think it's very easy to understand. I think anyone who could read English could understand it easily about the constitutions. And yeah, I don't think they've gone very deep of the nitty-gritty, but they've given everything which is required by common people to understand in a day-to-day life. And the good thing is that they've given a lot of examples, also real life examples, landmark cases. And yeah, I think it's a good read. And yeah, I think I'm not exactly sure how much time did it take. Let me check how much time did it take. It claimed that it'll take 33 hours. So yeah, I think 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 70, 6 to 12, 13. 13 equals to 130, 60. Yeah, I think it took exactly like close to 3 hours. Thank you. And it was a nice book. Highly recommend it.